perfect cars. You have these outliers. Some cars are really quick in the heat with a abrasive asphalt, others on the smooth. We are more on the smooth.
Lovely stuff, Toto Wolff. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a good race. Always good to hear from Toto Wolff. A lot of expectation coming into it. But now let's go to Lawrence with Bortoletto.
Gabby, I've had the pleasure of talking to you on these walks a few times this year. This time you're inside the top 10 after an epic quali. You've had an experience of how hot it is out there for a few laps. What can you do today?
Well, let's see what we can achieve, but I'm confident, you know, after a very positive quali yesterday. I believe we have the pace and we'll have to score some points today.
What is it about this track that is unlocking you at the minute? Because you've been mighty all weekend.
I don't know. I mean, I'm getting more confident with the car, as I mentioned to you yesterday, you know, and the team and everyone. And the track, obviously, I have good memories here, high speeds and very cool tracks, you know. I love it. Yeah, so, very cool.
Great, so good luck today.
Lovely stuff. Thank you, Lawrence. Now, what is interesting is the fact that, you know, the rookies, the likes of Bortoletto, Liam Lawson, are doing well here. And I guess that comes down to the fact that they have experience at this track in F2.
I think yes. Yes, they had a lot of experience. I think they can stay there today. Race pace is a different scenario than yesterday, but they can fight for points. Lawson from 6 has a huge opportunity starting in front of his teammate. Probably at the beginning he has to take care about Verstappen, but then he can show his speed. Top 10 for them, Bortoletto, Lawson for sure.
Yeah, well.
Davide believes he gets up the inside. I do too.
Leclerc is going to lead some of the laps, but then probably Norris is going to win.
Lovely stuff, guys. And remember what we said. Forfeit if you don't get it right. There will be yodeling at the end. Do join us for the pre-race show. What a moment it has been here on the grid. We cannot wait to go racing. All the action is about to take place. This is very much the curtain raiser here in Austria. It's Norris on pole, Leclerc alongside, and Verstappen with a charge ahead from 7. Let's go racing in Austria and join our dream commentary team of Alex Jakes, Jolyon Palmer and David Coulthard.
This is the Red Bull Ring. 10 high-speed, high-stakes turns set against the Styrian Mountains. A masterpiece of a modern racetrack.
Lando Norris, is he brave immediately?
He's just dive bombing.
He'll have to give that place back. This Grand Prix has come alive. Is it late again? Is it great again? Oh, contact, he's got a punch up. George Russell into the lead. Lando Norris is out of the race.
The grandstands filled with fans draped in orange, but these are no McLaren fans. They cheer for one man and one man only.
Max Verstappen!
Can home advantage give him and Red Bull a much-needed boost? Or will Lando and Oscar paint the town papaya? Let's find out. This is the 2025 Austrian Grand Prix.
brilliant lap in qualifying. He was 0.5 of a second ahead of the next car behind, which was Charles Leclerc, and that's an unheard of gap in F1. That's a length of time that it takes you to blink your eye, but in F1 it really is a huge gap. So yeah, we've got another did you know. The Austria circuit is a very fast lap with a pole position time of a 1:03.9. Only 1 minute. If you miss it, you will, in a blink, you will miss it.
Yeah, blink and you'll miss it. And Kai, Lando Norris, as Zach's just said, on pole position. Feels like a really important weekend for him at a track he goes well at, and a chance to claw some points back on teammate Oscar Piastri.
Yeah, this definitely is a big race for Lando. This is going to be a proving ground for him. Can he deal with the pressure of being in that McLaren seat? Obviously second in the championship standings right now, 22 points behind his teammate of Oscar Piastri. They came to blows last time out in Canada, and it meant a retirement for Lando Norris. He put his hands up and said the incident was his fault, but he's came back out fighting with a brilliant lap in qualifying. What will he be able to do today?
Certainly has, and we're all very, very excited to see what he can do today. As they head off on the formation lap, Scarlett, you were just saying there have been a couple of surprises, and absolutely right, because the Ferraris are up there in the top 4, surprised us, and Oscar Piastri actually said that yesterday after qualifying.
Well, it is surprising. I mean, you know, last season they were really strong, but this season I don't think they've been doing as well as they can, and I think, you know, they've proved themselves wrong, and, you know, they could come out on top today. It'd be amazing to see them, you know, have a win or a podium, but it looks like we have a bit of a problem here. It's Carlos Sainz in the William, and he seems to not be able to start on this formation lap. I mean, there's a yellow flag. It's not the way you'd want to start, is it?
No, not at all for Carlos Sainz. It's been a really unfortunate weekend so far. He's finished, well, he's qualified 19th on the grid. Considering that Williams car is currently 5th in the championship, and they had a really good run at the start of the season, especially for Alex Albon. This portion of the season has not been the best for Carlos Sainz. They're waving the yellow flag because he is completely stuck there. Do you think he'll be able to start, Guy?
It's going to be an interesting one. We'll have to see if he's able to get that car booted up and started and off the grid as well. Obviously, yellow flags are out on the circuit, which means all of the drivers must slow down because there is a danger on the track. That danger on the track is Carlos Sainz, unfortunately.
It's quite a big danger, isn't it?
It is.
He'll
have to move out the way for the race to get started, and sometimes they do tend to add in an extra formation lap if that is the case, to allow the drivers to, well, allow Carlos Sainz in this case to get moved off the grid. And rightly, as Zach has been saying, you know, not ideal for the start to this race for Carlos Sainz after the Williams team have been doing so brilliantly. I'm sure we will have an update as to what's happened very, very soon. But Zach, going back to this track, overtaking very, very possible around here, isn't it?
100%. There are 3 DRS zones, and they come on 3 straights that come directly after each other. So we see one here on the main straight, then there's one on the next straight, and one on the next straight after that. So it means that overtaking is definitely possible. Doesn't really matter as long as you're in that DRS space and you've got enough speed out of the exit of this corner. As we see Carlos Sainz gets going, that will be amazing for him. The Williams team have managed to get that car going electronically from the pits, but yeah, it is a really great track for overtaking.
Certainly is, and Carlos Sainz now, as you can see on your screen, heading off on his formation lap. A bit of a slower start to his formation lap, shall we say, because of course he was sat on the grid for the first part of it, but now catching up to the rest of the pack and hoping that that will be the only issue that he encounters this afternoon, Kai.
Yeah, hopefully that's the end of the troubles there for the Williams crew and for Carlos Sainz in general. So the start will be aborted there, which means that all of the team personnel are back out onto the circuit just to make sure that their cars are in check, ready to go again. And I'm sure once Carlos Sainz rejoins the grid, we will have one more formation lap before we get going.
Yeah, so as you rightly saw, the team's now coming back onto the grid. And Scarlett, that's got to be pretty tricky because they're ready to go. They're sat on the grid, ready to race. And then all of a sudden, they have to come back onto the grid and start again, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, every second is precious, and you can see them really warming up. You saw them, you know, weaving, which breaks down that silicone layer, getting the tyres at the perfect, you know, temperature, everything perfect to start racing. And then they have to do it all again. So I think I'd be pretty frustrated, but at least we know Carlos is happy that his car is actually going.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it's just the opposite of what you want to happen, isn't it?
100%. It is completely opposite, and like I said before, it's not ideal at all for Carlos Sainz. We see there's a bit of blue smoke coming out the rear of his car. Has he got engine issues? There's a real fuel. Is that a fire starting to happen? The brakes are on fire. Okay, this isn't as bad as it looks. It is a fire, but this has come from the brakes, and the brakes get very hot regularly in F1 cars. If it was in the engine, it would be a much bigger problem, because that's where all the explosives can happen.
And the team have gone straight over with the fans, haven't they, Kai, to cool everything down?
Well, yeah, and try and get rid of that fire is most important. Obviously, fire on the rear brakes, that shouldn't be a huge issue for Carlos Sainz. We actually see it quite commonly in Formula One. If you don't watch very often, then you might have had a bit of shock there, seeing the rear brakes go alight. But once that fire is out, Carlos Sainz, hopefully, fingers crossed, that is the end of his troubles for this race.
Not had the best start, has it?
No,
I mean, it's not even started yet.
Yeah, a bit of a dramatic start to proceedings this afternoon, Scarlett.
Definitely. I mean, you know, stop on the formation lap and your car's on fire. It's not the best, but it definitely looks worse than it actually is. So luckily, you know, everything's fine, and I think he'll be able to get back out there and smash it.
Yeah, hopefully he will. He only went for one lap on those tyres as well. I think everyone on the grid is on brand new tyres. As we saw, they were very shiny, and that shiny layer is actually a layer of silicone that they put on the tyres to notify that it is brand new tyres. And the drivers, by weaving, as you said earlier, have to try and break down that layer to make sure they extract the maximum amount of grip out of the tyres, so they got the maximum friction. As we see, the Williams team are really involved in this car right now.
How many people
delaying the start there.
Yeah. Lots and lots of mechanics around the car, and hoping that Carlos Sainz can go on and continue on in this race when it eventually does get started. Scarlett, how many mechanics are we seeing? Try and count them.
Oh my gosh, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. No, I'm counting other people now.
Well, rightly so, because there's so many people coming over to this car. There's now about 4 or 5 fire extinguishers at the same time, Scarlett. And as you were counting there, it just shows us how many people really are involved in one of these F1 cars.
And people say it's not a team sport. I mean, you cannot say that when you see all those people. And, you know, when it comes to pit stops and things like that, and when there are these issues, if a couple or one person or even, you know, 2 or 3 people weren't there, it could completely ruin it, because everyone does something so particular. I mean, look at that. There's hundreds of people there all working on cars. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a very busy grid down there, isn't it, Zach?
Yeah, it's very busy, and all the enthusiasm that each of these team members have for the car is why they work so. They all work so hard to try and extract maximum performance out of these cars. It's not just the drivers that take the performance to the track. It is all of the team members as well. You said it's actually 20 mechanics that we've got. And we've got a did you know, the last McLaren win, the McLaren haven't won this race since 2001.
Yeah, that's certainly right, Scarlett.
Yeah, it says here, so it was David Coulthard who won it in 2001. And I mean, we've got some McLaren drivers pretty high up. We can see him winning there. So, I mean, it would be historic if we had, you know, another win for McLaren. It'd be absolutely amazing. They're definitely going to be fighting for it. And I think it's, you know, a big possibility. You can see the podium here. But 2001, I mean, that's before, I think, pretty much all of us were born.
It is indeed, Scarlett. Last time in Monaco, when we were talking about the fact that McLaren hadn't won that race since 2008, you said that was the year that you were born. Well, none of us were born the last time that McLaren won around here with David Coulthard in 2001. So the potential to change their history. And Kai, they really are rewriting their winning history this year. I mean, hadn't won in Monaco since 2008, hadn't won in Spain, I think it was, since 2005, haven't won here since 2001, and they've got this real resurgence at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge one for McLaren, because they're just doing so well, and you can't blame them as well. They took home their first Constructors' Championship since 1998 last year, which is huge for McLaren. And coming off the back of that brilliant season last year, they have so much momentum coming into this season. The top 2 drivers in the Drivers' Championship is filled by McLaren drivers, and they are also top of the Constructors' Championship. It is good news to see that the formation lap will resume at 3:15 local time, which will be 2:15 this time, in about 7 minutes.
Race is obviously 1 lap shorter because of this, otherwise everything normal.
And of course, there we just heard the information from Oscar Piastri's race engineer, just telling him race is 1 lap shorter. So you've got 1 lap fewer to do around this track, Scarlett.
Wow, I mean, that makes, you know, a huge difference, doesn't it? One whole lap. But yeah, I mean, that's nice to know.
Out of 71, I don't think it does make too much of a difference.
I know.
It's a really long race, and that's why it's a really short lap. That's why we have so many laps around this track. And I'm just thinking, how do the drivers re-zone in? Because they have to try and zone in before the first start, and now this interruptions happen, so now they have to try and get back into that headspace, and it must be quite difficult for them, really just waiting, biding their time, waiting for the start to happen. How do you zone in, Kai, when you're racing?
Oh, well, I haven't raced in a while, so you're asking the wrong person, Zach. But no, it's definitely something that you find your own little routine as a driver. Mine, when I was sitting on the grid and karting, is I would like to close my eyes and visualize the lap so that I'm in that right headspace and I know what I'm doing going into the race and I'm not caught out by anything. But Zach, you're a racing driver as well. How about you tell me about yours?
Yeah, I actually like to get into the car as late as possible. Just like we see the F1 drivers here try to get in a few minutes before the formation lap. I like to leave it right till the last moment, so I'm not overthinking anything. And I think that's another huge part of Formula One, is that the drivers they perform at their best, right? As we see, there's a grandstand full of white and red flags. Is that for Max Verstappen?
I think it's to make the Austrian flag, and earlier in the national anthem as well, we had some young ballet dancers who were showing us the, dancing through the national anthem. They were doing some sign language as well to the national anthem, and it was really nice for us to see, you know, the young people out there and celebrating the Austrian Grand Prix, and it was quite the performance, wasn't it, Scarlett?
It definitely was. It's amazing. I don't think I've ever seen a national anthem be presented like that. And did you, the 75 with all the people, I mean, it's amazing. And did you see the plane like fly over the top as well at the end?
Yeah, it was very cool to
amazing.
see all of those flags made by the plane's fumes as well.
Yeah, very, very cool. And the fans hopefully looking forward to a race that will get underway very, very shortly. We are moments away from getting the formation lap underway, but also taking place earlier was the Legends Parade. Now this is something, Kai, that takes place at the Austrian Grand Prix.
Yeah, this was amazing to see. We saw a lot of cool and historic cars, and if you don't notice that one there, that is a very famous historic Formula One car that actually belonged to Niki Lauda, who is the only Austrian driver to win around the Austrian Grand Prix. So it was very special to see that car making its way around the Red Bull Ring. It was joined alongside by a lot of famous cars from movies and TV shows and stuff like that as well. So the crowd just treated to something a little bit extra this weekend.
Yeah, they certainly were. It had a bit of a Hollywood feel to it, didn't it, going around the track earlier before the grid formation and before the original formation lap. The crowd were certainly treated to a good show, and they are enjoying this. And as we are waiting for the race to get underway, we've got Jurgen Klopp, who's come to see the race as well and enjoy it from the V-Carb garage. Zach?
Yeah, the former Liverpool manager brought them loads of success in football. He's obviously got some interest in Formula One. Now, I guess sports relations are completely transferable, and for Jurgen Klopp, he probably enjoys how much of a team they are at RB, and RB also being an Austrian-based, Austrian-owned team. And this is the Niki Lauda win, and he was the only Austrian driver to ever win an Austrian Grand Prix. Now that's very interesting. He did that in a McLaren car a long while ago. Can the McLarens repeat it today? Let's see. But we know Niki Lauda as such a great driver, but we were never able to actually witness how good he was. We definitely weren't born. And he actually won this race when it wasn't called the Red Bull Ring at the time. It was called the Österreich-Ring, or the Austria Ring, the Austrian circuit. And it's not actually the same circuit that we're racing on today.
Beautifully pronounced there, Zach, to get the original name correct. I don't think I'm going to try, because I might not do that as well as you did. But you're absolutely right, Niki Lauda, you know, historic driver, great driver. And although there isn't an Austrian driver on the grid at the moment, I'm sure the Austrian fans will remember him fondly and be hoping that they will get an Austrian driver soon. There is an Austrian driver racing in Formula 3 in one of the support races, but not currently an Austrian driver on the grid for Formula One just yet. But maybe in a few years they will also have another driver.
Alex, the taps higher than they would normally be. They're going to need to be calling 3 ideally.
So a little bit of an update there for us from Alex Albon's engineer. And of course, given the issues that Williams have had with Carlos Sainz's car, his teammate, they'll be want to be warning him, won't they, Scarlett, about possible overheating. It's quite hot out there.
It is. I think we just saw it's 30 degrees, but the track temperature is 50 degrees. And, you know, that is pretty hot. I mean, you can see here, it's like, you can see the heat just, you know, on the screen. I mean, it is really hot, and it would be really hot in that driving suit as well. So definitely warning. I mean, if your teammates' brakes have caught on fire, I think I'd definitely be careful.
Yeah, you certainly would have to be careful. And as you say, if your teammates' brakes have caught on fire, even more of a reason to be careful, because of course you have the same car as your teammate. But Kai, we're going to be getting this formation lap underway very shortly.
Yeah, it's a well-anticipated start to this race, delayed by nearly 15 minutes, but we are pretty much ready to get underway. All of the drivers, as you mentioned, Zach, will have to get back into the zone and ready for the start of this race. The front two grids are occupied by McLaren and Ferrari, and will it be the constructors' battle, which we saw last year round, or will there be McLaren dominance? We'll have to wait and see.
Could well be, but as they go back onto this formation lap, Zach, just tell us what the drivers are doing in the car on the formation lap.
They're basically prepping the car, making sure that they've got adequate brake temperatures, adequate tyre temperatures, and by tyre temperatures, they can increase them by increasing friction, basically by turning left, right down the straights, braking really hard, and so they'll try and get all these temperatures to get up so that the cars are in the optimal window.
I thought for one brief moment, just a second there, that we might have another car not able to get off the grid. It did look like they maybe were going to have a similar issue to Carlos Sainz, but actually, Scarlett, they managed to get away, we think.
Yeah, I think everyone thought that. I saw people running, you know, towards, but luckily everything looks fine now, so let's just keep our fingers crossed that it's a smooth race.
Now, I've got a question for all of us. What are our race predictions? Who do we think is going to win? Or what's a podium prediction?
What's yours, Zach? Go on, give us yours first.
Wait, no, because then whoever says it first, you can't copy what they say. You can't have the same
good
one.
point.
Who wants to
I'm going
go
second.
first?
I'm going second.
Okay,
I'll go first.
Zach, you go first.
I think the winner will be Charles Leclerc.
Okay, Zach said Charles Leclerc. Kai?
Let's go Old Faithful. We're going Lando Norris.
Okay, and Scarlett, who do you think?
Oscar Piastri.
Just name the top three.
Well, there are our your race predictions. I'm going to sit on the fence, guys. I'm not going to give a race prediction.
You're not getting out of it that easy.
No,
because
then I can't be wrong. I can't be wrong if I don't say a prediction, and that I don't want to be wrong this afternoon. So I'll let you guys take it.
All right.
But I think you might be right. I think one of the drivers that you mentioned could maybe win the race, as they're all starting up there very high up on the first two rows. So good predictions from you guys. As I said, I'm going to sit on the fence, and then whoever wins, I'll say, oh, actually, that's who I thought it was going to be. But they are now coming round the final two corners. As we've already said, the fewest corners of any track on the F1 calendar. And Kai, why are they swerving towards the grid?
They're really wiggling the cars.
Well, yeah, you can see the drivers really anchoring the steering left and right. That's just trying to get as much warmth as possible into the tyres. Obviously, using those harder and medium compounder tyres, it's harder to get heat into them. So drivers just in a desperate last chance opportunity, trying to get some heat rotation into the tyres to make sure that they're in a better operating window for the start of the race. Heat will be lost though whilst they're sitting on the grid here. We're just on board with Oscar Piastri and having a look at the McLaren pit wall, as it looks like all of our drivers are now lined up on the grid. The green flag has flown at the back of the grid, and it's all eyes to the lights as we have all lights on the gantry. It's lights out and we are racing here in Austria. A great launch from the front row, but Lando Norris is able to sweep across and try and defend from Charles Leclerc, as getting in front, Oscar Piastri dives around the outside. Brilliant move there from the McLaren pair, and as they manage to break away up front, Charles Leclerc's held on to P3. Watch out for George Russell in behind, as it's 3 wide heading up to turn 3. Who's going to work out lock up there from Antonelli? And he goes right into the side of one of the RBs, and that looks like it was a Red Bull round. That might have been Max Verstappen, which would be a massive upset for the crowd here at the Red Bull Ring if Max Verstappen has went round. Yellow flag is out on the circuit, but one of the Red Bull drivers has gone round, unfortunately, as we're still racing here. Hamilton around the outside of his ex-teammate of George Russell. He gets that one done, and he'll tuck into the slipstream of his teammate Charles Leclerc. As we slow down, safety car is deployed, which means all of the drivers need to slow down to their delta, and that will be heartbreak for the crowd, heartbreak for the team, and heartbreak for Max Verstappen himself. And off the back of his maiden podium, Kimi Antonelli, he looks around in despair, and he looks around at his broken Mercedes and his broken heart as he has also retired.
Well, that was quite the dramatic start to the race. 2 drivers already out. We already have a safety car, Scarlett, and it's Max Verstappen, who so many of the fans love around this track. He's out, Kimi Antonelli's out, gives away to the fans, but what a disappointing start to the day.
I mean, it is. I mean, we had a really slow start at the beginning with the formation lap, and then it was just complete chaos, wasn't it? I mean, I don't think anyone could have expected that. We can see some disappointed looking drivers. Max is going to be so upset. I mean, it wasn't his best qualifying, but, you know, he's got so many fans here. He's got a sculpture of a bull. I mean, it's just not what he would have wanted. There's going to be some really disappointed fans. And poor Kimi as well. I mean, he, you know, he's got to come off such a high. I'd be so disappointed.
Yeah, and so many fans disappointed. Kimi Antonelli disappointed. The drivers already starting to chat.
So incident is turn 3. Kimi and Verstappen are both out of the race here.
Yeah, and here is the replay of the start, Zach.
Yes, we saw Charles Leclerc didn't quite get the reaction that he would have wanted to try and pit Lando Norris, and Lando quickly and swiftly closed that gap. Oscar Piastri, a brilliant move around the outside, and so did George Russell. He also managed to make a move. As we see down to the back of the grid, there was a bit of a tussle. As we see here, Lando Norris, he quickly shuts the gap, stops Charles Leclerc from getting down his inside, and Oscar Piastri takes that opportunity to slip around the outside. George Russell also got round the outside of Lewis Hamilton, but Hamilton in the slipstream, as we see behind the first Ferrari, managed to get back around that inside. And as you see Verstappen here, he tried to send it around the outside, and Antonelli comes completely flying down the inside with a locking up. He was not stopping, he was charging down the inside, and he unfortunately, in collateral damage, took out Max Verstappen there. I think it was a bit of a rookie mistake there from Antonelli. Verstappen could do nothing. He saw a car going straight into his mirrors, and he could not avoid it.
Well, it does get tight up towards turn 3, Kai, doesn't it? And we have seen so many incidents at that point of the track over recent years, and really just a tricky start to the day, Kai.
Yeah, it really is. You look on board with Antonelli, and he tried to avoid cars slowing down in front, maybe hit that brake pedal a little bit too hard. We saw the front lock up, and from there, he's a passenger in the car, and there's nothing you can do to try and stop that Mercedes. Unfortunately, Max Verstappen is just collateral damage in that incident. I can't fully put the blame on any driver. You can see Antonelli there swerve out of the way of one of the RBs, which it slows down in front of him, and he just locks up that front, collecting Max Verstappen, and it's a horrible way to go out of the race for both of them.
Absolutely, they'll be very disappointed, especially as you guys have already said, Kimi Antonelli coming off the back of a great couple of weeks. He you know, was on the podium for the first time in Canada. He then, Scarlett, graduated from high school.
He did, wasn't it like the day after as well or something? I mean, that's crazy. Imagine going from racing one day and then graduating the next day. We've got a did you know here, safety car. When there is danger on track, the safety car limits the speed of the cars, so there's no overtaking. So that'll be because of the crash that we saw, and you saw that red car at the front there that obviously isn't an F1 car, and that is what the safety car is.
Yeah, the safety car is driven by very...
Still double yellow, turn 3, still vehicles and stuff.
As we see, Lando Norris has actually restarted. He's gone. We are no longer under safety car conditions. He got a great jump from his teammate, Oscar Piastri. See, Charles Leclerc is putting pressure on Oscar Piastri. He will be right onto Piastri into turn 1. The whole grid is very close, just on the safety car exit, and he'll fly through. It's a blink of an eye and they're all gone. Lando Norris is leading the pack right now. Let's see what Oscar Piastri can do. He's the championship leader. Lando needs to stay ahead.
Yeah, so we're back underway here on lap 4 of 70. Of course, we've chopped one lap off the racing distance because of what happened before on the first formation lap. at the start of this race, and it has been a dramatic start to the afternoon. And one thing we haven't really touched on, Kai, is, as we're seeing, a couple of cars going wide at turn 3. But Kai, Oscar Piastri's got himself up into second place, did that very, very swiftly, and a couple of overtaking moves now maybe on.
Yeah, Russell looking to attack the back of Lewis Hamilton. We saw him go around the outside of what was turn 6 on the first lap, and Russell trying to return the favour, not able to do much in worrying the back of that Scuderia Ferrari just yet. We're having a look at the speed battle at the bottom. Hamilton able to get on the accelerator earlier out of turn 8. Let's see how Russell was able to respond once DRS is enabled and once it is handed there to the Mercedes car. Let's have a look at the replay of this restart here, and just forced off the track there. Colapinto having an incident with one of those Haas cars. That looks like that was Ollie Behrman going wide as they came to blows up at turn 3. Turn 3 seems to be the action spot so far.
It does indeed, and so many drivers seem to be getting on with it this afternoon, aren't they, Zach? They're getting right into it, right into the thick of it, and having some great battles out there.
Yeah, there are some great battles. We saw there Lewis Hamilton into this corner as he's coming up to you now. Really had to cover off the inside from George Russell there, and he is getting closer to Lewis Hamilton as we see Max Verstappen in despair walking off, but he doesn't seem too fussed. It's not great for his championship battle though. He needs to be right in there with Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, as we also see Kimi Antonelli going off there, as we've got Lando Norris here and Oscar Piastri in second. Charles Leclerc in third, following not too closely behind. The McLarens are starting to pull away a slight gap, but can Oscar Piastri get into the front start in front of Lando Norris?
Yeah, so we saw Max Verstappen and Kimi Antonelli making their way back to the garage. And of course, it is a big, big shame for Max Verstappen, because he is the driver with the most wins around this track.
Yeah, Max Verstappen has many wins around this track. It was 2018, 2019. He actually got 2 on the double-header weekend we had here in 2020, and then his famous 2021 victory and his 2023 victory. Max has been dominant round here for many years, so he will not be happy to be out of this race at this moment in time.
Did you see anyone you noticed there,
It was Ginger Spice. Did everyone see? The Spice Girls.
Got Oscar Piastri trying to go for a move. Sorry to cut in there, Scarlett, but this is important for the championship. Piastri was sending a move down into turn 3 on Lando Norris, his closest championship rival. Piastri wasn't able to quite make it work there, but he's right pressuring up Lando Norris right now.
Yeah, and Oscar Piastri needing to do that as well. And, well, not needing to, because, of course, he is leading the championship, Kai. But, you know, he wants to make this move. He wants to win every race that he can.
Yeah, and that's going to be Piastri's focus, because obviously the points gap between the two of them right now is still a 1 race difference, as it's only 22 points. So that does mean if Norris was to win the race and Piastri was to retire, then Lando Norris would be our new championship leader. Obviously, Piastri is doing everything he can to try and make sure that that isn't the case. But the two McLaren drivers, it got a little bit too close between them in Canada, and they're starting to get close in Austria. Do you reckon we'll see a repeat?
Well, I'm sure that the guys on the McLaren pit wall will be hoping that they don't see a repeat of what happened in Canada. But you're absolutely right, Zach. We have now got back to a similar situation that we've seen all season, and this is what happened last time.
Yeah, as we saw, Lando Norris unfortunately crashed out of the Canadian Grand Prix on the final dying embers of the race. Hopefully this doesn't happen here, but we saw that Oscar Piastri was covering off the inside, and that gap just closed for Lando Norris as he committed to the move. Yet he, as Kai said, he held his hands up, said, my fault, and I think it was quite clear that there was no gap there. Let's see though, is now Lando in front and Oscar behind. Oscar is the one in pursuit. And yeah, let's see what he can do here. He's in the DRS range.
And Scarlett, this is the thing, right? They're in the same team. And after what happened in Canada, there were some questions about whether they should let them keep racing like this. But they are letting them keep racing like this.
Well, yeah, it's difficult because they're on the same team, but they're so close in the points, and, you know, they both want to win. So it's difficult to know, you know, what to do, really, because sometimes, you know, you have to sacrifice your position, let your teammate pass. But in situations like this, it's really hard because, you know, there's so much competition, but they are both with McLaren, so it's hard to know exactly what to do.
What would you do if you were the team boss?
Oh,
Hard question, I know.
That is so hard. I don't know, because you can't pick a better driver, really, you know. It's hard, like with teams like McLaren, they're so close. Obviously, Oscar's in the lead for now, but everything could change, so I wouldn't be able to pick. I'd have to pick a name out of a hat.
And it's the kind of thing where when you get to the end of the season, Kai, I'm sure whoever doesn't win will be analysing every mistake they made and saying, where did I lose that championship?
Yeah, I'm sure they will. They're very high-performance athletes, and they are two of the most competitive drivers on the grid. Even though they're still friendly off-track, once it's on track and the helmets are on, visors are down, it's a completely different story. Yes, they're teammates, but they are two drivers that are still very hungry to be winning their own drivers' championship. Lando Norris, it's been said widely in the media that coming into this season that he is the championship favourite, and we can see on our little mini-map in the bottom with the drivers' avatars rotating round that Lando Norris is the front face heading down towards turn 4.
He is indeed, and some people, guys, say that this track looks like a whale from above. Do we agree with the track map?
A whale with a huge tail.
I see it.
I think it
or like
does.
half of its head and like body could be underwater. But wow, I mean, Lando's looking really happy on the side here. It says he's got 6 race wins, 34 podium finishes, 11 pole positions, 1,183 career points. I mean, I see why he's dancing, because that's really impressive.
Yeah, and trying to pick up a few more points today. Of course, 25 points for the win, and he does not want those points to be going the way of his teammate, Oscar Piastri.
No, 100%. As we got Alex Albon here, does he make a move on the Alpine ahead? He got very close to him, and a nice send down the inside. Gets the inside, makes that overtake happen. That's a very clean move.
He made that look so easy, didn't he?
He did, 100%. I think he's up into the top 6. What a brilliant position for Alex Albon in the Williams. As we've got Oscar Piastri clapping in his typical, not too emotion showing position. He's got 4 race wins.
He's got a big smile on his face, no?
He's got a grinning.
Smile. Yeah, he's grinning, but I don't know what he's looking at. He's not showing too much with his eyes. He's got 18 podium finishes, 4 pole positions, and 587 career points. But you see on screen here, he is gaining on Norris. He is getting very close to his teammate Lando Norris. Piastri is putting Norris under immense pressure. Do you think he'll get past him this lap?
Oh, I have no idea. Maybe not this lap, but I think we could see it in some future laps. He was gaining, but I mean, Lando is so fast, isn't he? So it really could go either way. It's hard to say, but maybe his avatar clapping helped him, so we'll have to see.
And for Lando Norris as well. I mean, he's seeing Oscar Piastri looming large in his mirrors.
Yeah, that's not something you want to, be looking at behind you. Your teammate getting closer and closer and closer, and they are so close. I mean, compared to the Ferrari behind them, it's pretty close.
It is very close, and Kai, it only takes one mistake from Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri will take that chance.
That really is all it is, and DRS will have a massive play in this one. It doesn't look like Lando's going to fight it. Yes, it is. He goes to the inside. He goes defensive, but it should be an easy sweep around the outside from Oscar Piastri. Switch back here from Norris. He gets back on the inside line, and he will have that DRS flap open down the back straight towards turn 4 as the McLaren drivers are side by side once again. An interesting moment there from Norris as you saw the DRS flap open and close once again down the straight, but not too many issues if it was one at all, as Lando Norris manages to maintain. Here comes Piastri back on the inside. He's gonna fight it. Norris gives him the room but maintains the position one more lap.
What a battle we are seeing between the two at the front. This is exactly what we wanted to see, Zach. A good battle out on track. The McLaren pit wall may be watching this through their fingers.
100%. McLaren have the famed papaya rules where they make sure that they're not fighting each other too hard, but Lando Norris played that beautifully there. Allowed Oscar Piastri to get on his inside, but we saw Oscar Piastri's brake actually locked up. That meant that Lando was able to get an effective switchback. As we've got the McLaren battle here. They're having a dance battle in the top right. Who do you think's winning, Scarlett?
Oh, I have no idea. Oh, it looks like, is it Lando on the left?
Yeah, I think it's Lando.
Well, they've got like fireworks coming out. I mean, that's amazing. I'd like to be having a dance battle up there. But I mean, dance battle can't really translate onto how they do on track.
Well, whether it's on the track or in the sky.
So just keep an eye on that rear left temperature.
Yeah, I've got it on it, mate. There's not really much I can do.
Well, whether it's on the track or in the sky, they are continuing to battle. And now we're seeing yet another battle. This is Gabriel Bortoleto on Pierre Gasly. Scarlett, he's going for it.
That was such a clean move. Yeah, he did. That was such a clean move, wasn't it? I mean, he made that look easy.
But Gasly's having a go back at him, as you see Gasly going right wheel to wheel with Bortoleto. Bortoleto holds him off for now, but is Gasly going to have another go back? No, as his avatar pops out from the side, Bortoleto is up into 7th position, and a brilliant move for that.
And what about this track, Kai? It's certainly giving us some great racing this afternoon. Back to the battle at the front.
It's a scenic one indeed, not just off track, but on track as well. You've got beautiful scenery around the circuit and beautiful scenes on the circuit with these two McLaren drivers clashing heads once again. Not any contact between them just yet. We have seen a couple drivers come into the pits already for the first pit stops. That is Gasly and Hülkenberg that have pulled into the pit lane. Seems quite an early pit window to be coming in, so maybe a two-stop strategy is on the cards for Gasly and Hülkenberg. I would not be surprised at all if we see a hard compounded tyres emerge on the cars, on the tyres of those cars.
And from the radio as well, Zach, we've been hearing that a couple of drivers may be struggling with overheating of their tyres.
Yeah, 100%. As we saw, Scarlett said earlier, the track temperature is 50 degrees Celsius, and the tyres already get hot. They need to be in a correct working window, which is typically quite warm, to ensure that they have maximum grip. But considering that the track is so hot, these tyres being pushed right to the limit are going to experience overheating, as we saw George Russell was experiencing it on a certain tyre, and that is also due to the fact that we get certain tyres that are used more on the racetrack.
Obviously, you know, the engineers and stuff said that they do things off the track and the mechanics to keep the tyres cold. But is there anything the drivers can do to actually keep them like cooler or like minimise how hot they get when they're on track?
Yeah, well, the drivers have to try and make sure that they're not putting too much steering angle, which is, imagine you're in a parking lot and you're trying to get around a tight corner. You put a lot of steering angle when you're there, but the drivers have to make sure that as smooth as possible. And this is also kind of a link to what happens in karting. You're the quickest when you're smooth on the steering wheel, as we see the quickest drivers, such as people like Max Verstappen.
Oscar, how's the tyre?
It's okay, Rick is struggling a little bit.
Well, exactly as we were saying, so many drivers getting updates from their engineers, or giving their engineers
Gasly got them into the
time.
temperature window. He found himself there. Look how close Piastri is! Looking into turn number one. You almost don't want to be that close into turn number one, because the big opportunity is coming up now.
Yeah, actually, sorry, Julian, I was going to say he lost momentum by being that close into one.
Norris must have made a mistake in the final sector there. Piastri is going to have another charge.
Piastri on the charge! He places the car behind. There was an enormous opportunity to take the lead. You can see Lando Norris lighting up the tyres. McLaren are lighting up this race. 0.3 of a second, 0.2 of a second. Nothing between the two McLarens once again. And Norris, his heart will be pounding after those couple of corners. That was the biggest threat to his lead disappearing.
Yeah, Oscar, I think, is just being a little bit tentative in the braking areas, not going all in, not taking the risk of sending it. The way that we saw Lando in Montreal at the hairpin came from so far back, caught Oscar by surprise.
Norris wide of the apex at turn 6. I think he was off the road at the final corner on the previous lap. That's why Piastri had such a charge at him coming in towards turn 1. Let's ride on board through that corner this time with Oscar staring down the barrel of the race lead again. 7 tenths away, and Norris, he is just having to be on the limit to try and just absorb the pressure from Piastri. If he starts to drive within himself, he'll just get swamped. But then he's making a few mistakes here or there, and he's having to get his elbows out to keep that lead.
Well, he's going to try and do it for the rest of the race, I would imagine,
they're both running slightly slower than the Ferraris of Leclerc and Hamilton. So that early pace of the McLaren pulling away has now started to subside. And definitely they're in a race of their own, but they're not pulling away anymore from the Ferraris.
That difference that Piastri is benefiting from in the DRS. Will he have a go into turn 3? He's quite close on this lap. He'll get the slipstream, which is where Norris is punching a hole in the air in front of Piastri, and you'll have the DRS.
Lift and coast, I see.
Norris fighting the rear now. I think he's overheating his rear tyre. So yeah, lift and coast for Charles Leclerc. Brian Bozzi on the radio saying that this is going to be...
And in those places, so here it says on there, I didn't even need to say it, stands for drag reduction system, and it's like a little flap, and it opens up at the back, it's a button to open the rear wing, to make the car go faster faster on the straights, but you can't use
And the largest trophy only just stayed in his theoretical possession. It's still only half a second, as it's a double Williams retirement. Alex Albon out of the race. It's a tough run of races for the British team. They are struggling right now after having a great start to the season. Battle on again. Feels like it never ended after last year's Austrian Grand Prix. We're fighting every single lap for P1.
And when you're Piastri and you see your teammate ahead, slithering around, finding the gravel, one corner, two corners, you're thinking, I can do this. And he is under so much pressure here.
Lando, opportunity, make turn 6 apex, it makes it harder for the other car.
Even before the race, we saw Sainz
You've been told to take your apexes, DC?
Never.
That was one problem after the other there for the Williams team. They will retire Alex Albon in the pit lane, and unfortunately they will have no more cars to take part in this grid.
Feels very sort of from the ABC book of how to be a Grand Prix driver, and I don't say that in a condescending way. It's just how it comes across sometimes.
There's Yuki Tsunoda late on the brakes, getting to the apex first. That's going to be contact, and it is Tsunoda and Stroll coming together at turn 3. Tsunoda did get ahead, but it wasn't clean.
No, well, there you go. Further updates on the tyres. We're currently watching Yuki Tsunoda, the sole remaining Red Bull in this race, make a move and slightly into the side of
okay,
the
lift and
Aston
coast
Martin.
for third place. Charles Leclerc trying to extend the medium tyre for as long as possible. McLaren taking the complete opposite approach. A thrilling duel is still only 6/10 of a second away, and George Russell wants the fresher tyres first. He's currently running in 5th. Mercedes, who brought a new suspension back to the car for Canada and won the Grand Prix, knew that this weekend in warmer temperatures was going to be a test. At the moment, they are third fastest
into the air
Russell's
that he
actually
breathes in every day. Oscar
good ball to
Piastri,
Leto.
unfortunately,
The
is
sound
following
the driver is
behind another
having
car, and
the
due to
weekend
the
of his life at the moment. No
of
points
this
so
car,
far this season, and he's running
Piastri's
sixth.
going dirty.
Looking
But
at the back of the Mercedes, and he's got
the yellow
Lawson and
tyre
Alonso coming with him as well. So this, with everything going on at the front, this is going to be a great day for some of the minnows as well.
So the soft tyre, that's
Norris is moving around at those final 2 corners in a way that will be making McLaren nervous, in a way that we are reveling in the commentary box, and I'm sure you are at home, because they aren't just wondering about the lap times and conserving and waiting for the pit stops. They're all out attack to win the Grand Prix.
They have to use 2 tyre compounds
thank you, McLaren, for
most
allowing
likely
them to
see
go
that
racing.
white hard tyre come into
Oscar
play later
struggling
on.
a bit off of 3, doesn't quite get to capitalise on the DRS and the increased speed as he enters that corner. And then, as you've already mentioned, Julian, that Lando is deploying a bit of energy out of 3 to neutralise any attack down into 4.
And then there's not much that Oscar can do for the rest of the lap now. Once he's not close enough, you need to be really side by side into turn 6. And he has made some amazing moves, hasn't he, there?
2.4 seconds, a solid pit stop there from the Mercedes car, and the Mercedes team will have to see what tyres are put onto his car as he re-emerges out of the pit lane and back into the race.
He is back out on the track, Yuki Tsunoda as well, and those quick pit stops are very, very key as well, because, well, I think someone who'll be hoping that they'll have a quick pit stop will be both of these guys.
Aren't you? You're working out how you can beat a Red Bull or a Mercedes or a Ferrari, but now they're looking at each other and thinking, well, if you're going to pass me, I'm going to pit and stay ahead with an undercut.
You know, it can ruin
we've
the
discussed
entire
this before,
race,
haven't we? This is the most complex scenario for any Formula 1 team when you've got the quickest car and 2 #1 drivers. One of them's going to be left unhappy with who gets the first pit stop
from Lando
if that
Norris last
undercut
year,
then
and suddenly
leads them
in the pit
to
stops he was
maintain
a
the
massive
position for the
issue,
remainder
and
of the Grand Prix.
unfortunately that brought Norris
Just a walk
straight
to
back
the
into
inside,
the
looking for more, locking up. I thought he was trying to put the frighteners on, and he nearly ripped off the front wing. We saw that between McLarens before. That was not comfortable for Piastri down into turn 4.
Of how they may win this race, but here we go. Oh, a knockout there from Oscar Piastri trying to win this race, because guys,
I wonder if Piastri might need the pit stop more after the big front lock-up, so Norris will have to peel in, and he does now to not cross that white line.
through this penultimate corner. It'll slow Piastri down as well. And Norris blinks first. Piastri will go one more lap, presumably. But that was a close moment, wasn't it? I think Lando saw it coming late, started to turn in a little bit early, which meant Oscar just panicked, hit the brakes harder and had the lockup.
What an opening stint to the Grand Prix that was. Not the fastest from McLaren, though. That's not ideal. 3.1
just on the radio there from Will Joseph. He said we're going to stay out
Oscar
longer.
Piastri next
Lando
time
Norris
round.
maybe overturn that decision as we'll dive into the pit lane.
An opportunity
set of hard compound tyres. It is a little bit of a slow pit stop there.
This is so important for Lando's race that he clears the Sauber. What a sentence. Shows you the weekend that Bortoletto is having, and he does so.
Even
with
the slower stop.
So
he's got away with that. McLaren, I mean, they don't want to decide this by one of their drivers having a slow pit stop. He needs to focus on getting these tyres up to temperature, not worry about cars around him.
But it should be okay.
The circuit, it looks like the McLaren crew have done a brilliant job at bringing in Lando Norris here, as he just has clean air out in front of him, so he doesn't have to worry about any traffic. Going to get these tyres up to temperature and then start pushing and try and eat away at the gap to Oscar Piastri.
Turn 4, it's laid on the brakes and avoiding action having to be taken in the end.
Well ahead of Gabriel Bortoletto, found himself a nice little gap to go ahead of Gabriel Bortoletto. And here is the replay of what we saw a couple of laps ago, which is where Oscar Piastri tried to make that move, Scarlett,
and he just pushed a little bit too hard there. You know, obviously he's really trying, and this is the replay of the pit stop that we saw, so it was a little bit slower, but still, you know, pretty good. Not the quickest
there was an issue on the front left where we saw it didn't quite latch on.
Yes, the logical thing now for Piastri is to go long and have a bigger tyre advantage for the remainder of the race.
He's eating away at that gap. It was 20.2 seconds when he left the pit lane. It's now 19.6. He's already gained almost half a second. Yeah, get into the back of Oscar Piastri before he even pits.
Lando Norris on a mission this afternoon, wants to win this race, arguably needs to win this race to stop Oscar Piastri
the apex
from
first at turn 1. That's
more
Hulkenberg getting
points.
past Behrman. Hulkenberg improves up to 11th as Bortoletto blends back onto the racetrack. That's not what you want. That's exactly what Lando Norris was trying to avoid. So Bortoletto made his stop. Currently at the second pace, he's got Behrman on the hard tyre ahead, and then he's got his teammate on the medium ahead as well, after a great opening stint on the Grand Prix for the Brazilian driver, trying to score his first points in Formula 1 today.
Yes, I'd like to do that because
20 points so far this year for Sauber, all scored by
I'd like to do that. It looks pretty fun, but I feel like it'd be hard as well.
Piastri stays out and isn't running at a great pace, but of course he's not going to be on a 23-lap old medium tyre now. Norris is going quicker on his fresh hard. How much does Lando push? Because he now doesn't want to chew up these hards for when Piastri pits, and then we'll have an attack at him again. He needs to keep something in them for another threat at another time.
Yeah, not the ideal position for Ollie Behrman. They're going to work together, the two Saubers, to make sure that they both try and end up ahead of him. As we see, this is Isaac Hadjar now into the points positions. He started 13th. He's had a good race as well. And it's pressuring. It's Fernando Alonso ahead of him.
It's like choosing options off a menu, isn't it?
It's not the ideal
I quite like that as a communication there.
It's Fernando Alonso actually here. So it wouldn't have been Isaac Hadjar, or is he actually, is this, say...
That spot in data looks okay to continue.
Bortoletto still behind Oliver Behrman at the moment. And Behrman, who stopped 11 laps ago to take on that hard tyre, is the driver ahead. For the time being, that is about to change. Bortoletto gets by both of them F2 graduates in Formula 1 this year.
He's pulling out all the moves this afternoon. Well, he's going to have to pull out all the moves, Kai. The moves on track.
Yeah, he's going to have to pull out all the moves if he wants to win this race. And talking about moves, we see Gabriel Bortoletto going down the inside of Oliver Behrman, and that will promote himself up into P12 on the circuit. He pops up to say hello in the bottom right, and he makes his way past Oliver Behrman as well. But we heard on the radio there,
little psychological boost, because you get into that uncertainty, Jolie, don't you? You know you've pitted, you know where you are on the racetrack, but you're blind to where everyone else is as you now gets the call
to the rear of Lando Norris's car. There was a lot of smoke that came off the front tyres of Oscar Piastri, so we've locked those
6.5 seconds behind up to 24 laps. It's not miserable for Leclerc or Hamilton in this race. They've just been fractionally out of our shot the whole time we've been looking at the McLaren.
The vibrations throughout.
Here comes Oscar Piastri, who went for the offset, went for the fresher rubber option rather than resuming the battle immediately. He saw how much Norris was moving around. He believes the rubber advantage will be telling to try and win
pit
Austrian
crew,
Grand Prix. He was received by his
Oscar
team.
Piastri for his pit stop. He's going on to the hard one.
McLaren do with the second car.
Quickly,
3.4. As Lando Norris is going to head on through, comfortably has the lead. They were talking about a 4-second gap.
It needs to be a good stop, doesn't it?
Similar time
a
the
quick
pit stop will
for
ensure
Oscar
that.
Piastri.
Piastri with the pressure up, though, by 4
It wasn't the best stop that I've seen McLaren do. 1.8 seconds.
And look, there's his teammate.
Good bit ahead.
5.5. Yeah, he's got to build up to speed on this straight as well and get the hard tyres working properly, so it might even go up from that as well.
Of
course, the pit stop probably was a second more than McLaren would have hoped for in that. Piastri losing a little bit of pace on his
exactly what Lando Norris would have been hoping for.
He'll be a bit annoyed to have taken option B 4 seconds and find it's actually option B 6 seconds.
Hit it earlier, he was able to get those tyres up to temperature and push a little bit harder on those fresh hard tyres, just extending the gap that he has to Oscar Piastri, which is definitely ideal, as he was under a lot of pressure earlier on. This is Piastri coming into the pits here, and a big issue on the front left. They struggled to get the tyre off this time. Maybe the front left isn't the specialty of the McLaren.
I know, I was going to say that was the same tyre as for Lando Norris earlier, wasn't it, Sam?
Yeah, it was the same tyre, the front left. Trying to stand on the podium again today. So on 3 occasions so far this season.
Ferrari are practically unopposed now. Verstappen's out of this race. It's George Russell who remains a contender, but he doesn't have a lot of pace in that first stint. So it's Leclerc v Hamilton at the moment for a podium.
They didn't have any issues with that.
Stays out and takes the lead, but will surely also be in the pits leg on the next lap.
And you were just talking about which role that you would like to have in the pit stops, and the role that you said you wanted the front jack. He did a pretty good job there.
He did a fantastic job. I mean, I might not be able to get a job doing that. They're also good already. But we saw him coming out, so yeah, it looked like a pretty good pit stop.
Well, they do train for it.
Any second.
They do train for it, don't they?
Yeah, take a lot of training, I think. A lot of building up the muscle to be able to do it. We see a battle for 4th here with Liam Lawson and Fernando Alonso.
Gasly gets past Stroll for 9th.
About building up muscle, there's also some building blocks around the track.
And Norris has the fastest first sector of anyone so far.
Because some of
the pink and blue car is Gasly, and then it is Stroll falling backwards.
Cool. I mean, they look amazing, don't they? And they're massive. I mean, it always hurts when you stand on Lego, so let's hope that no one stands on that. But we can see here, this is the Miami
everyone else around there on the fringes of the point.
So I mean, that is amazing. I think that's the happiest I've seen most of the drivers.
I have never seen smiles that big from some of our drivers.
Definitely not. I mean, they look like having the time of their lives. And I mean, it must be nice, you know, being able to have both drivers in one car as well. I guess they're not used to that. Look at Max. When have we last seen him smile like that? I know, that'd be annoying if you built that car, but it looks amazing. I mean, they look like having so much fun. I guess how they wondered, how they decided who would be driving. I mean, how many Lego bricks do you think it takes to make one of them?
And it took a year and a half to build those cars, which is quite crazy.
His rookie teammate who's in 10th.
We're just seeing Charles Leclerc making some moves again on track. But going back to those Lego cars, Kai, what do you think they do with them now? Do you think they're in a museum?
Needed a strong
do you think they're just sitting in someone's house?
Sort of slightly overshadowed by Hadger.
If they're just sitting in a garage, I'll take one of them because I'll put it to good use. I'll definitely get some good use out of the Lego cars.
We could have an F1 kids race.
For those that are pitting only now.
No,
not as high as we thought it might be.
I don't know how it's going to happen. Izzy needs to make that happen now.
Found out he had
I'll do my best to make it happen. Back on board with Gabriel Bortoletto, who is having a little battle here once again with the Alpine. The Alpine going slightly wide, and Gabriel Bortoletto straight through on lap 28 of 70 of this race. It's going quickly because there's a lot of action.
Lots of action, but we're still not halfway through, and we talked about this earlier, how this has one of the most amount of laps of any Grand Prix on the calendar due to its short length. It only being a minute and a few seconds, and we see Charles Leclerc.
Basically, you either let them race and deal with potential near moments,
gives him some extra speed.
I mean, it's so difficult
for
a guy in the same car as his rival, with a driver as good as Norris or Piastri, to make a drive-by clean move. You know, there has to be a level of risk. For Piastri there, it was a little bit late. It was a little bit half-hearted. Norris maybe turned in fractionally early that put the squeeze on him that he wasn't quite expecting there. But there's 6.5 seconds between them. Let them get close, and let's see what plays out.
It's looking pretty good for, you know, Charles Leclerc, the two McLaren drivers. Piastri's still at the front, so he's going to be pushing, wanting to catch up with Piastri, and hopefully catch up with Norris. But yeah, looking pretty good for him. He had a good pit stop, so everything's looking pretty positive for the Ferrari driver.
And Charles Leclerc looking to get back on the podium as well. It's not been the start to the season that Ferrari
there's a time where you just mind your own business, and I think that's one of those times.
Just see Gabriel
and actually, I think Norris opened the steering slightly as well as he got to the apex, probably realising that Oscar was coming in. So there's still a level of respect. We've had some great battles, swapping of positions as well between them, and they've been very fair, very respectful. Obviously, McLaren
let's swap you guys around.
This time, it's not about fourth and fifth. It's about a slam dunk race win that they're fighting over. But I agree, they have to trust their drivers to do the job.
Oh, crashing the grass, expecting the gap to be there. If you turn it into a tyre battle, it should be the Ferrari that gets by. And Lewis Hamilton didn't have a lot of room, but eventually climbs to fourth. His teammate, a couple of minutes ago, whilst we were hearing the analysis, David Jolyon, Charles Leclerc,
Lewis Hamilton, though, trying to get on with it as well, past the racing bulls of the Alonso, made the move stick now up into the top four. He has done an overtake, he has come to say hi, Scarlett, and now he'll be chasing after his teammate.
He will, I mean, we can see a replay here. We've got him coming around and, he just goes pretty close and he just makes it. I mean, all of these overtakes are making them look easy. And it is a track that's good for overtaking, but we can see another shot of it here. You know, he just gets as close as he... Oh, Ollie Behrman, he's gone off there. He gets back on, but it's not looking too good for him.
Just the one time here, back in 2016.
Was Ollie Behrman there, and you don't want to do that too many times, Kai, because you can damage your car.
Yeah, you don't want any damage.
Yeah, that's what it looked like on the inside of turn 6 as he thought he was going to go sailing off towards the gravel. He's fighting hard, and is just struggling to keep that top 10 position under pressure from those behind. It's Ascars who've struggled for pace so far this weekend, and Gasly, who's been quick so far this weekend.
Our top 4, and it would be a fantastic result for Ferrari, as we were saying, who have been struggling. It's one of the Alpines just going past Yuki Tsunoda as well.
Voila! It's began at the third turn, and round goes the Alpines, still in the Grand Prix, fighting at turn 3. Tsunoda trying to come back immediately. Pinto
so close to the race. And the hell! Yuki Tsunoda, unfortunately, has gone into the rear right wheel. I think that is Franco Colapinto, and he spun around. Luckily, he's managed to get himself going. And I just saw there, Yuki Tsunoda was a bit ambitious with the way he went into the corner. Knocked his front right brake, and unfortunately just understeered into the back rear right tyre of Colapinto, and Yuki Tsunoda here is now going to have to put it into the pits.
Which I think was very fair, and then for whatever reason, Yuki's just not able to keep himself on that tighter line.
We're about to see what exactly happened here, Kai.
Yeah, just too deep inside with a bit of space, but again, not doing enough in the braking zone to get alongside and warrant the space there towards the exit, and just drifting wide to the back of Colapinto, and damage that needed repairing for the only Red Bull in the race. What an awful Grand Prix for them on home soil.
There was a little bit of damage there, and it will have been on that that left-hand side.
He's a 5-time winner around this venue.
The Red Bull team,
he was the retirement on the opening lap of the race, hit
get some fresh tyres on, get a new front wing on the car, and set back out onto the track. But an unfortunate
take the lights for this Grand Prix, and Tsunoda is now running last. There are 6 seconds between Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris on the hard tyre. Last time around, Oscar Piastri was 2/10 of a second faster. Flavio Briatore is the acting team principal and permanent executive advisor at Alpine, reporting directly to the group Renault board, not employed by the F1 team, but filling in.
No, it's interesting. Sometimes certain tyres don't react very well to the circuit, as we see here at this race.
This is where the strange thing for
analogy that I like to use
really
is like a
takes its
rubber.
effect, doesn't it?
The
We've got one driver that is a master, and okay, had a bad qualifying yesterday. He was unlucky, really, to be 7th on the grid. But if he's accidentally wiped out on the first lap,
but you have to put quite a lot of effort in to get the pencil to be taken away with the harder rubber. So I think the hard tyre, having to work it quite hard to get any performance out of it.
Fifth race for the team at Alpine, having started second last.
And a lot of effort being
it's a disaster for Red Bull as soon as they lose
Scarlett,
lead
we're seeing
driver. There's
battles
no other team that
everywhere.
suffers in the
We
same
look,
way
one of the
by being
Haas,
such a
Esteban
one-car
Ocon,
team.
Trying to make the move on
Gasly
the
and Ocon
Alpine
getting up close and personal. Just feels that no matter which corner Ocon gets the pass on Gasly as he continues his unhappy struggle on those hard tyres.
Yeah, and Esteban Ocon chasing after Pierre Gasly. So much going on in this race.
There is so much. It looks like they're all having to wrestle,
surely
with
he's
each
going to
other
get
and
past
with
his
the
old
cars.
rival.
It looks
Former
really
teammate.
tricky. I mean, everyone is so close.
Doesn't
And I
fancy
think we
it
just saw
at
is that
this moment.
Alonso
Going to get a great opportunity this time. Gasly with the feedback that wasn't ideal. It's a 10-second time penalty for Yuki Tsunoda for causing a collision.
A big tyre advantage to the end.
Ocon out of the slipstream and improving again.
Behind the Alpine.
Up to 9th position for him.
Esteban Ocon
started on the medium tyre, 13-lap old hards at the moment.
In the slipstream, he's gaining. He'll try and take down the inside. Esteban Ocon is through on Pierre Gasly, but can Gasly have a go back?
And these two former teammates, guys, who have come together a couple of
then, of course, he's had the effective time penalty of changing the nose when he came in. That was a 15-second pit stop. So
he is
well out of it this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely putting pressure on each other. We saw that move, but it could really go back. So, you know, it's difficult, but they are so close. Look, they're still pretty close to each other. So I don't think that's the last bit of action we're going to see between the two of those
I'm going to be all over the coverage when I get back. And the action has been so good at the sharp end that you're just an absolute passenger in the race. And no one can see all your great moves. But now is a chance for the midfielders to shine as the gap remains 5.5 seconds out front. All we wanted to see was McLaren for 25 laps, wasn't it? Piastri's nudging the gap down. It went up to as much as 6.5 seconds. It's now just less than 5.5 seconds. But I wonder if he's thinking he can maybe do a one-stop, whereas Norris is heading towards a 2. That's an option that he can take, because he's not taking enough time out of Lando. He had the option of being 1.5 seconds back or 4 seconds back. 6.5 was a bad result. But the only reason to take the bigger gap is to have a nice charge back up towards the race lead, and he's not
laps ago we heard a radio
right
from
now.
Nico Hulkenberg,
I like the idea of that,
talking about
because
plan
there's right now, as you say, he's not making enough headway to make it appear as if
they can have as many plans as they want. They may have A to Z, they may have even more. So as many plans as a team feels necessary, but you hear plan A, that is going to be
and if he does start to come under pressure, he can always pit anyway, because Leclerc's going to do another
this race in terms of
tyre
strategy.
Cue the fastest lap, as I said it, for Oscar Piastri. But it still stands 5.5 seconds between the
decoding games.
And yeah, it's an option that he's got to try and do something different on strategy. If McLaren are allowed to race each other on track, they're allowed to race each other off track as well and on the pit wall. And
Lewis
Oscar can just look
Hamilton
after those tyres a little better and think about doing
Lewis
the different
Hamilton
strategy.
currently in P4.
Oliver Behrman, the latest driver to go past Gasly, who is trying the up and
7
under.
world titles, 105
Gasly
race
might not
wins,
have the overall pace here today, but he's refusing to give it up. 22-lap-old hard tyres.
He's celebrating.
Gasly
I mean, he's just chilling there in his car, isn't he? He seems pretty happy, pretty stable.
So story of the Grand Prix so far, as Gasly lights up those rear tyres as a visual illustration
and I think
of the lack of grip that he's got.
He's in now.
Sainz had brakes that seized and caught fire. He retired before the lights. Andrea Kimi Antonelli avoided a racing ball, hit the red ball of Max Verstappen.
Taking something is broken, it's crazy. Taking something is broken, it's crazy.
Yeah, understood, mate. We're working on it. Okay, stick with it, please.
I can stay on track.
Yeah, understood, mate.
Gasly continues the negative feedback for the handling, similar to what we heard
so just as I was
from
about to
Carlos
say, that
Sainz
was the
yesterday.
other hand.
Alex Albon retired as well. The second
Williams
Williams went. We saw a
confirming there that Gasly has an issue.
100% Gasly is not happy with the car he's driving right now. He's really struggling. You can see him sliding about. The rear end of the car is moving about on him, and he's not enjoying that ride right now. He isn't able to keep up with Behrman either. Behrman made that overtake and he straight away built a gap, so that's not ideal position for Gasly right now.
And without being in the car,
we continue it now with Isaac Hadjar, who's chasing down Franco Colapinto, and he's going to the inside. How much grip is there? Enough for him to get by. You just don't know. In the support races, it's been incident after incident after incident, but Hadjar had a car's whip and took it.
That is a lot of sensors, all feeding back data, just like Isaac Hadjar has made an overtake. I'm sure they'll get confirmation on the pit wall about that one.
Colapinto aware, probably hyper aware actually
what is
having
the
following
BWT
that
Alpine.
contact with
He
Tsunoda
checks out,
earlier.
gives us
Just,
a little wave
you can imagine,
on the right-hand side. Does Isaac Hadjar as he's cutting his way through the field in that
the same in the other
car.
Alpine
But
as
we mentioned, Gasly just really not in his element. He had such a strong qualifying performance earlier and a great start to the race. So the team will desperately
you could see the thought process playing out live, couldn't you, with Hadjar there up towards turn 3? Should I go outside? Maybe inside? Maybe not. Oh, go on then. And finally makes the pass. Nice bit of racing between them.
So they
it was indeed, kept it clean. And we just saw there Lando Norris hanging out over the curb on the exit of turn 7.
It must be so frustrating when the car's just not cooperating.
So that would rather suggest that he's running these tyres as hard as he can. 9.7 last time around for him, 9.4 for Piastri, who's just, as you said earlier, Julie, just nibbling that gap down to 5.2.
We're talking hundredths per lap at the moment. It's on average just sneaking down.
The gap was extended at the pit stop. You've really managed to get a great undercut.
13 laps now for Piastri.
The delta was 3 laps
unless
later.
he's looking after the tyres for a charge later on. I have to say I was very surprised considering the pace that Norris has had this weekend. Every time he's been on track, he's looked like he's had the measure of his teammate. But yet in that first stint, it was like he had looked his way to pole, wasn't it? It was like he was on pole but didn't have the pace with the way that Oscar was just piling on the pressure.
Lando Norris certainly
two different disciplines altogether, getting everything together for one lap and then managing tyres throughout the Grand Prix. There's no evidence on
in their current Formula 1 team, but also they've got plenty of drivers coming through their development programme. In fact, there is one, Alex Dunn.
A brilliant FP1 session from Alex Dunn earlier on. I was very much sat at home watching this with delight. The young Irishman was able to take to the Austrian circuit in actually Lando Norris's car. So maybe it's a blessed car. He was able to finish 4th in FP1, just less than a tenth of Oscar Piastri. And I say that I was watching it along at home very happy because Alex Dunn is someone that I've grown up with racing
with a lap half a second quicker than Lando Norris.
In my early karting career from the ages of about 8. You can see his dad in the garage there giving him a big hug. But it's strange to see from my position a lot of drivers that I'm friends with and a lot of drivers I've known growing up now making it into Formula 2 and Formula 1.
And you could say that Alex has done a good job.
Oh, come on.
I had to. I'm sorry, I had to. And back on board now with Liam Lawson, who's currently sitting in P10, and another driver who needs a better result, really, as well.
100%. Liam Lawson over the
He's now dropping. He's done a slower lap this time around. It's another half a second to Piastri. So maybe Lando was just giving it a bit too much to keep the gap where it was. And now Oscar's starting to reap the rewards of a bit of patience early on in this stint. And for good measure, Norris is catching this little battle.
So Lance Stroll is in 13th, Franco Colapinto in 14th. The drivers that you're looking at are mandated by the rulebook to get out of the way by the blue flag for those at the head of the race. That is there. You can only ignore 3 of them.
Well, especially it being his first full season in Formula 1, needs to make an impression, and this guy as well needs to make an impression. One of our
experience of being spun round earlier on. He's all over the road as Lando Norris comes up to lap.
They want to come into Formula 1 and they want to save their seat and make sure that they're here for years to come.
It's so difficult because it's their first season in Formula 1, but they have so much to prove. And you know, it's a lot of pressure, but I think the Rockies have been doing amazing.
That is worse, isn't it? Because he's got the right to take his apex, but he's doing it at much slower speed. So let's just see what the damage
is. But you know, they're so talented. Anyone who has a seat in Formula 1 is extremely consequential moment. But it is a lot of pressure.
Because it's just a quirk of the racetrack. That's where you peel into the pit lane. You have to scrub off the speed. Franco Colapinto coming in after being passed by the Aston Martin. Cost him the gap of 4.3 down to 3.3. And Piastri is reeling in his rival for the title.
Like Franco Colapinto, who we're seeing
this is in a few laps' time going to get interesting.
What they need, Kai.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting season for 2026. Big regulation changes and brand new cars. So who knows what's going to happen going into
Where
next season.
you
As
get
we
the
have
traffic
much
is
smaller
just
cars,
completely random,
the
of
new
course.
team on the
Yeah,
grid,
1 second
and
he's
Kick
been
Sauber, they are
hundreds
changing
and
to
hundreds,
Audi as
half a
well.
second
But
jumps.
if we look at
And
the
then
time gap for the current
full
teams on
second
the
there
grid,
lap 40,
one of them out
as
in
Norris
front,
got
Lando
Colapinto
Norris and
coming
Oscar
into the pits, and
Piastri.
suddenly
The gap
Piastri can
is
now
very
sense
much
this is his time to
closing
go.
between the two
And
of them.
Norris will be able to look in the mirrors and
Piastri
see a
is
flash
just
of
chipping away
papaya
at the
there
gap
as well,
between
and he'll
him
know,
and Norris.
oh no,
3.4
it's back on, I've got to
seconds
take
is
some
now
heat once
only
again.
what separates the two of them.
Well, if this had
And
been
I
the
can already
colour of
tell
these
you,
cars
as the
back when
laps
I
go
was
on,
racing, I
that
wouldn't
gap
have
is just going to
known.
get smaller.
Certainly will, and Oscar
starting to
Piastri
pit.
really
We're doing
pushing,
our race.
maybe
Your pace is
having
still
just been
good.
a bit patient there, Zach.
Yeah, I think he's biding his time, getting his tyres up to temperature, as you said, warming up the car to ideal temperatures to make sure he's right in the window to push.
I
Now it's
guess
down to
if they've taken
3.1
the
seconds, so
time
now he's
to
smaller
give
and smaller the neck
a
of that
warning
car,
on
getting
his attempt to
every
overtake
ounce of performance out
when
of the
they were
car,
well
trying to
separated,
catch his
I
teammate Lando
suspect
Norris,
he might
trying
get
to
on the
make
floor
sure that he
again
can
before
keep
he
that
gets
championship lead.
anywhere close to engaging with Norris, which I think would be hard because you want to let these guys get on with the racing.
Not quite sure. He's on the hard
But this time he's got a bigger tyre advantage, and I think if Piastri can get closer, he'll have a better chance to pass. And this is all about the patience and the choice he was given on the team radio. Do you want to drop back and then have a bigger tyre advantage? He's taken that choice, and now when he gets there, he will have more grip, which he didn't have when they both started on new mediums at the start of the race. I would have thought when Piastri gets close, Norris will pit and take a second stop and gun it to the end, and then it'll be a choice for Oscar if he wants to do a two-stop, or if he wants to try and hold out for a one.
Liam Lawson, so it's exciting to
it's a
see.
long way to
0.9 seconds between the two of them. So it's
I
exciting
don't
to see
think
he's able to
he's
close that gap
the
and get
evidence
in
here is
front.
not going to beat
got the
Norris
DRS open, which means
on
that
his
he'll be
individual
closing
piece, so he's got to try and do something different.
People out there have done long stints on the medium, can make it work.
Big decisions, because this feels like a Grand Prix that by the end of the year we will list as hugely important to the destination for who becomes, if it is to be a new driver. Max Verstappen is out today after scoring 10 points. After scoring more points back, 18 he scored up against Lando Norris in the last
we've seen
Grand Prix.
in quite a few races so far this season that the teams try not to go on that hard compound tyre. It's something that's unavoidable in this race, unfortunately, just because of the length.
But we've only had
the
34
race
world champions in the history of Formula One. Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris know that it is turning into an exclusive battle between the McLaren pair. But what tone in the radio message from
and Lando Norris, maybe he should have extended his stint on the medium tyres just a little bit more, because he seems to be fading away on those hard compounded tyres, and Oscar Piastri is going to be benefiting from
Instead, from the moment he jumped into the car in FP2, it seems to have gone from him now as he realises that I think today Piastri is the quicker McLaren driver, but Norris has the track position, so he's just got to keep it. The gap goes up on this lap as Piastri gets a little bit stuck there behind Stroll.
You can just feel it. There's another pit stop there, 2.3 seconds.
Quick pit stop there. I think that was from Nico Hülkenberg finally pitting onto another compounded tyre. That is the medium compound.
on them. The gap has remained at 3.3. Brilliant battle earlier on. Not just because they were close, not just because they were racing each other again after what happened in Canada, but because you could see from the trackside cameras how much of the road they were using to push each other further and further and faster. And Lando Norris is trying to improve back to the top step for the third time this year. His teammate has 5 wins, and Lando Norris knows that this is a massively important stint in his quest to be the world champion.
Hülkenberg coming out of the pits right in between them is a nice thing for Norris as well here, because
is just where the tyre starts to wear down the friction between the rubber and also the surface of the track. Just means that little bit of rubber is spit off that tyre, and the less surface area that you have on the tyre means the less grip and traction that you're going to get out of there, and that's why you see drivers starting to complain about a lack of grip on their car, which is normally what comes around the end of a stint, and that's why they will eventually come into the pit box.
The Aston of Stroll, his lap time was actually a tenth slower than Norris.
And actually, Norris has picked up his own pace slightly as well. He had those 2 laps where he dropped away, and now he's managed to stabilise tyres a little bit closer to his personal best, which is a 1 minute 9.3.
Probably looked in his rear mirror, saw that he was catching up. Got a little bit nervous, but we've got a card here of Oscar Piastri,
just under a 1 minute 9.2.
First in the championship, 198 points, 5 wins and 8 podiums. He's really catching up with Lando Norris.
Bit quicker
he's putting a lot of pressure on his teammate, and I mean,
punches,
after
and then
Canada,
the 1
he's going to be
second
feeling it even
moment
more.
as well has brought him back to 3.5 seconds
Lando
away.
Norris has just responded
down again.
because he's now pulled out the gap a little bit
Adjustment
further.
on his steering wheel there.
Edging up that gap
As he
slowly.
continues to manage his race. You can see his teammate up ahead. And his teammate, even though the mirrors are very small, as you mentioned, Julian, he'll be able to glance in it and he'll get the information on his pit board as to his lead. And a wee check of his mirrors will show his teammate hunting him down.
When he gets to this
last time around, Norris faster than Piastri. The gap
in the same
was as
car
low
is very
as 3.3, is now 3.7.
It's not like the difference
down
potentially
to the
between
Ferrari
the
of
Sauber
Charles
and the
Leclerc,
Mercedes,
Lewis
which
Hamilton
is
is
quite a
6
big
seconds
difference. We're not seeing it
further
in this race,
back.
but typically it is.
Live
So
speed as we
someone like
climb
Oscar
the hill.
Piastri,
George Russell's being
really
brought in for his second stop. He was first in the top 5 to pit earlier on, all the way up to 180 miles per hour by the time you apply the brakes in the turn.
The Ferrari
so what's a bit frustrating for Piastri here is Hulkenberg is running just half a second slower than Norris on his fresh mediums. The Sauber's a quick car. Bortoletto's still 6th in the Grand Prix, and on fresh tyres, Piastri's not much quicker, only 4 tenths quicker than Hulkenberg. But he's now picking up a little bit of dirty air from the Sauber as well, so he's just having his progress stifled. He's not close enough that Hulkenberg's getting the blue flags, but in fact, I think Nico's just got his first blue flag now, but the gap has been going out, and it's just been a bit of unlucky timing this time for Piastri.
Hard tyres, a problem on the rear left,
seeing
it's a little bit slow, but he will come back out of the pit lane.
You can see Hamilton's having
back onto the
a better Grand Prix weekend relative to Leclerc as a whole.
Amount of time
does on his own, but pit stop 6 seconds behind Leclerc. And I think the Ferrari, if it remains like this, will feel this has been a much stronger weekend.
Lewis Hamilton was really encouraged with the performance. He was saying operationally they were excellent. You look at George Russell on fresher rubber going past Isaac Hadjar, that's the 9th position. But Hamilton was buoyant if you consider that it was only a 4th position on the grid. He was very happy with the team's performance, scoring a step forward.
8 race wins, 46 podium finishes, 26
for a strong final stint, trying to contend for his first Ferrari Grand Prix podium.
George Russell is almost a lap down
That is not a bad pod.
If the camera shot was wide enough, you'd see Lando Norris coming in the background behind these two. The Cresta probably just stopped that right now. But he's 9th place. I mean, he's made a second stop, so he's made an extra pit stop. But really distant is the Grand Prix winner from last time out. Piastri's now cleared Hulkenberg behind as well, so that's back to a straight fight with no back marker distractions for the moment.
Drink out the tyres.
And yeah, Hamilton's having a good drive, isn't he? Hit the groundhog in Canada. We didn't have a fair comparison of what he might have done, and you never know when you're talking about points of downforce lost. How much is that? How much does it shift the balance? And as a driver, you're questioning it as well. You know the logic of this is sort of 4 tenths per lap, but I'd love to just see the 4 tenths per lap and not trying to hope that it was at least that, or maybe it was a little bit more, possibly it was a little bit less. Today, it's just been a straight fight, Leclerc and Hamilton out there.
And it was 3.5 just a couple seconds ago.
Slightly advantage Leclerc, but considering Charles had the advantage this year so far, it's been a much closer weekend for Hamilton.
And how does he have a drink whilst he's driving? Does he have a water bottle tucked
for Hamilton
in the corner?
Yeah, take his hand off the steering wheel, get his bottle. Isn't it like a straw and then it comes round? And people always say that they might put tea bags in it when it's a hot race because it does get so hot. I mean, I think hot water's better than nothing, but I ain't putting a tea bag in there. It's not chocolate powder.
Right behind the seat.
Oh, that's Lewis Hamilton.
So far in this Grand Prix. This is the World Championship leader in 2nd position. The correction, the curve, and running off the road at turn 1.
Yeah, correction for Overseer as he braked into the corner. And, well, the tailwind there has just caught him out. It's complete opposite wind direction as we get the replay of Lewis Hamilton up at turn 3. It's a complete opposite wind direction than we saw in qualifying yesterday.
Yeah, the rear is starting to feel some pain as well for Piastri. 24 laps on that hard tyre. It's a reasonable way he's taking it. Norris, of course, taking it further by pitting earlier. Has a bit of a lunge.
All of the drivers seeming to struggle out on the
Behrman
circuit.
able to get past Lance Stroll
Oscar Piastri
and
had
move
that
up
snap
to
of
12th
oversteer
position.
at the first corner, meaning he went
Behrman
straight over turn 2.
return to the
take
points.
off to the escape lane,
Bahrain
but no
Grand
one
Prix, 4th
escaping the grasp of the Haas car as he goes down the inside, does Oliver Behrman, and makes his way past Lance Stroll. Stroll, nothing he could have done to put up a fight there, and Oliver Behrman will pick up a place as he edges his way towards those point-scoring positions. He's currently in 12, just 2 more cars to go.
Just 2 to go, yeah.
Piastri went for deliberate tactics at the start of the Grand Prix to not...
Because we're already nearly at the halfway point of the season.
Yeah, we are. I mean, it's gone so quickly. I think Silverstone is the halfway point, and I mean, you know, everything, you know, can change. Still got half the race left.
Through the first turn.
It is important.
It's so nice to see all of the drivers fighting the cars, though. Nothing looks easy to drive. That first stint was just amazing to watch. The 2 nose to tail and scrabbling around for rear grip. You see Piastri lose it on the way into turn 1. Norris fighting it through the apex of turn 1. Leclerc gets off his hard tyres, which
equally very proud of his son.
The McLarens are on. So Ferrari locking in that 2-stopper right now. Surely McLaren will pit at some point soon.
Peel off into the pit lane. He put some brand new medium tyres on. Let's see how good. That was a very fast pit stop from the Ferrari.
Leclerc comes out into complete clean air. His teammate Hamilton's up at turn 3, so when he pits, he'll drop behind him. And then you've got to go all the way down to Ocon, who's just passing the start-finish now. So Leclerc's going to be singing all by myself.
Strange, lonely race for him, but he'll be happy if it ends in a podium.
He's trying to undercut
Bortoletto, big pit stop in his Formula 1 career. And for Sauber, trying to score points with both cars. They're pumped up to be back in contention for points in Formula 1.
Yes, sublime race from Gabriel Bortoletto. You can't fault him at all. It was an unbelievable qualifying session.
Taken over as team principal
qualifying session, I think it's fair to say, from Gabriel Bortoletto and the Kick Sauber team. And it's not just him that's happy, it's the pit crew as well, and they should be as well. With a 2.2 second pit stop, they're just helping their driver along to be within an attacking opportunity and try and be within a point scoring opportunity, which Bortoletto is looking to be on charge for. He will have to move out of the way of Oscar Piastri as he is being lapped. That just shows the pace of the McLarens. If they're already lapping the top 10,
the way they pitted Leclerc in Canada was about taking the fastest race, but they took out any chance of finishing higher than 6.
Nearly lapping the whole field.
Yeah, and another quick pit stop from the Ferraris. Charles Leclerc came in first. He had a good pit stop. Lewis Hamilton came in. He had a good pit stop. And fist bumps all round for the Sauber pit crew. I think there'll be fist bumps all round for the Ferrari pit crew as well. And Gabriel Bortoletto, guys, he's not yet scored points this
the cliff, as we used to refer it in days gone by for Pirelli, but he couldn't have been any clearer that he wanted to stay out.
I mean, it's incredible. He's done so well to
Hamilton will now finish 4th in this race. If he stays out and there's a red flag or a safety car, he might do better. And this is exactly the same thing as we felt Leclerc in Canada. It's the fastest race, but try and finish higher. Don't worry about your race time. Don't worry about your race position.
Maybe you're just being too optimistic.
Well, it is interesting that Lando Norris has came over the little hope. Said that he's now starting to struggle with tyres as he's extended the gap back to Oscar Piastri.
You guys against positive thinking
he might be struggling with the tyres, but Oscar Piastri clearly struggling with them a little bit more, as it was down to 3.2 seconds just a few laps ago. But Lando Norris has managed to find an extra 7 tenths and he's able to pull that out of Oscar Piastri. We can see that he's struggling with grip a little bit, though, as he gets a bit squirrely out of turn 4.
Had some excitement at the start.
Struggling a little bit with
had a cycle through the pit stops, and then at the end it all came alive. High pressure pit stop from McLaren. Slightly slow with both cars. Last time around, the race leader is in for a defining pit stop.
Definitely feels that he really does need to take it. And here comes the McLaren into the pits, and it is Lando Norris who will now come into the pits and maybe just struggling a bit too much with those tyres to stay out.
Yes, Lando Norris pitting is an interesting strategy from McLaren to pit quite a lot later than the rest of the pack.
I think it's just
the pit stop is, I'd say, 2.3 second pit stop.
They do
not too far off. Decent pit stop. Also,
cycle through the memory banks
hasn't pitted. He actually doesn't need to pit again because he's already made one pit stop onto a different compounded tyre, but I'll assume that he would come into the pit stop soon. The Red Bull is coming out to the pit lane near to Lando Norris, but he's actually a lapped car, so he's not allowed to
loved on his in lap. It wouldn't have been enough to jump him with the used tyre now.
What do you think's happening with Lando Norris? Do you think Oscar Piastri will be able to catch him by the end of the race?
Should be in a few corners time.
Well,
come out with Oscar
Yeah,
than
he's leading
Lando.
now.
So on board with Oscar
I mean, we've
Piastri.
already seen that, but
Germany
he's feisty,
situation.
he wants the win, so he could take that back. I mean, it's difficult to know. Oh yeah, Oscar's not pitted yet. I mean, it's difficult to know. They're so close, but the gap, as I said, it keeps getting, more narrow and then broadening, so it really could go either way. I mean, they've both been complaining about their tyres. I think everyone has been
53 and 17.
Obviously, Oscar's on those hard tyres, so I'm expecting him to come in and pit soon.
You're exactly right. He has just pitted.
Into the Grand Prix.
He has
Norris with the
indeed.
fastest middle sector of anyone
Rightly
so
as you
far.
predicted,
You're on board
Scarlett,
with
you
him, the
expected
left-hand
him to
side
come
of your
in
screen.
soon. How's
Norris
this for
will
soon? He's
retake the
come
lead.
straight
Piastri
here.
stopped though.
He did. He said, is that my
That
strategist,
is
Scarlett?
not
I think
far more
I'll
what
come
McLaren were
into
looking
the pit, so he'll
Piastri
come
will try
back
and clear
out
these
now. And
two.
we
He
were
won't.
expecting it to be
So
two
we'll have
stops
to
in this
pass
race,
that
Kai,
the
as we
traffic,
said at
and
the
then he goes
beginning.
hunting
And a
for the
great
Grand Prix
final
win.
pit stop
The
for
gap
Oscar Piastri.
remains at 3.3.
Yeah, nice to get a bit of a slipstream.
Yeah, as
he could get a
predicted,
pass
it
done
was a
before
two-stop
you go into
strategy.
4, but these
Two
guys are
sets of
battling.
mediums and one set of
Looks
hards.
like Yuki
has been the
was trying to get out of the way, and then he was back in the way.
And Oscar Piastri,
So now
it's
it's
not
Colin
the best
Pinto,
pit runs
Colin
there, as he
Pinto
does have a little bit
forces
of traffic in
Oscar
front of him
Piastri
of
onto the
lap
grass
cars, and
at
they're
high
actually
speed.
fighting
The battle
right
further
now
back
as
in
we
the
see
pack,
down the
nearly
inside.
interrupting
Tsunoda
the first
gonna
time
get
in the
held
race.
up.
Out of the
Yeah,
way.
held up. Does Oscar
Team of the
Piastri?
race
There he
leaders.
is.
This is ridiculous
Oh,
for Tsunoda and Colin Pinto.
That's
They're
why
having their own
Norris,
battle
Oscar
for
Piastri, the
15th
lap
place,
car
having
there
already collided
of Pierre
today.
Gasly
Do you
has
remember
put
when
him right
Lando
onto
Norris
the grass,
peeled in,
similar to what we
Colin
saw
Pinto
for
peeled into the
Lando
pits,
Norris and Max
and it was
Verstappen
Colin
last
Pinto,
year. Oscar
and
Piastri, I'm
the gap
sure
went
will
from
be complaining
4.3
over the
seconds
radio
down to
about that.
3.3,
That is
but this
not
is how
great
it went from
for his race,
3.3
trying to catch
to
Lando Norris.
4.3
He's got
again.
back to
So I thought
4.3
Yuki was
seconds
taking a
behind.
wide line
And if
because
he
he knew
doesn't
that
manage
was
to win
Oscar
the
there,
race, I
and then he
think
cuts
Oscar
back
Piastri will be
across the
saying
front of her.
to
And then Colin
the
Pinto
Alpine,
must have
hey,
been
that wasn't
completely
fair.
No, I think he'll definitely
unsighted.
be complaining.
So
You've got a
I
replay
can't
here,
see
so
how
he
you can
came
get away
out,
with
and we can see
without
those
some
two
sort of
cars were
penalty for that.
fighting,
You can't
and he
drive
kind of just
someone off
got
the track.
shoved,
It's
didn't
woeful,
he? I
isn't it?
mean,
You can't
Pierre
drive someone
Gasly
off the
just
track
pushed
and you're a
him
lap
right to the end,
down.
and he
You're not
couldn't
even
get
racing
past.
him.
There was no way.
He's
He
unaware
just
of
picked
what's
his
going
wheel,
on, but he
went right
had
into
the
the
McLaren
grass.
behind
I mean,
him coming
that's
into the
not
corner.
fair,
I
is
can
it?
excuse
I'd be
Yuki a
complaining
little
if
bit
I were
more,
him,
who
I
might
think.
not have
That's
seen
one
two
way
cars
to
back,
cut the
but
grass around this
Franco
track.
Colapinto really should have seen the guy fighting for the race lead right there. But you know what? There was an incident in Barcelona with Liam Lawson and Ollie Behrman where Lando Norris and Max Verstappen were held up quite badly, and there was no punishment for Lawson for what was a terrible bit of impeding the race leaders. And I think the FIA for a while have been quite lenient on this, so drivers feel empowered to go hunting down a rival for 14th when you've got a race leader coming through, which has to be the priority.
Yeah, totally unacceptable. If you're a lap down,
Oscar
then
Piastri's race
you've got to get
engineer
out of the way.
there,
The
Tom Stallard,
rules
just
are the rules.
encouraging,
Now,
saying, you know,
what,
16 laps to go, 4.4
Russell
seconds to Lando, it's 4.1
a nice
at the moment, just
down the inside there. But
keep going,
what's
keep going.
also a little bit confusing, just, you know, he may not look to his runners to have seen that Oscar was there, but the race engineers should have made them aware. Said that, you know,
down the inside,
guy fighting for the lead in second place has just come out the pit lane behind you with fresh tyres.
George Russell
And it motivated Oscar Piastri, who's just on the fastest final sector of anyone so far. Rapid pace last time around. That gap is already back down to the second that he lost.
The incident earlier, understandably
Norris less so as he had to put a lap on
under investigation.
His party time continuing between Tsunoda and Colapinto. Colapinto gave him a friendly wave on the way through as well. Those two having two key moments. Second one nearly influencing the outcome of the Grand Prix win. So this was a fun start to the race. We got quite a fun end to the race now as well. We're back on the medium tyres, and this can now just be a flat-out crash to the end. These tyres will be fine. There's new mediums for both Norris and Piastri. They've got similar distance to what they had at the start. They were sliding around on them, pushing, giving it everything. And now it's battle resumed. 3 seconds between them. So Piastri's got work to do, but if he's got the pace, he can go and use it.
Yeah, he's got Gasly just in front of him as he comes out onto the start-finish straight, so he will probably get the pass done up into turn 1, or will he take advantage of slipstream and DRS and the run up to turn 3.
Bortoleto going past the driver that he beat to the title last year in Formula 2. Bortoleto, who got his first F2 win here, is a champion of Formula 3 and Formula 2. He's now in possession of 8th position. He's had a great run so far this weekend. He will be ticking off the laps between him and his first point score in Formula 1. Fernando Alonso is the driver ahead of him. He's
not letting him set that,
so far,
not letting that set him back. He's almost 3 seconds behind, so he's really catching up. 3.3 now.
Around the 10th
well, when
final
something like
corner
that
at the
happens
moment.
in the car,
Chasing down Liam Lawson, who did have the advantage
and get back
a few seconds, and that advantage has eroded over the last couple of laps. Alonso within DRS, that's why we join him on board at the moment. Racing Bulls against Aston Martin.
Try and get to the rear end, try and overtake Lando Norris.
It's an expected 5-second time penalty for Franco Colapinto for forcing another driver off the track.
So that's the least that Colapinto deserved there for just a bit of
on these last few laps.
Obliviousness. Oblivion
is going to be hard to
sort me out there.
You're normally the cunning linguist. I must say, DC. I can't believe that you're searching for words. I'm doing that daily.
Help me out, please, DC.
Well, he needs to use those little things strapped to the side of the car called mirrors, which has got about 15 hours the way I see it.
Understandably so. Oscar Piastri just doing all he can at the moment.
He is indeed doing all he can to win this race. Last year's winner, of course, currently sitting in 5th position. That's George Russell. And last year's race, it ended dramatically, didn't it, Kai?
Lawson and Alonso, you're looking at that battle at the moment. Lawson for looking,
George Russell, he's not going to complain about that one, but one driver that will complain is Lando Norris, as he felt that he deserved that win. Him and Max Verstappen were going back and forth the whole race, and unfortunately, this was what ended it all for Lando Norris. Norris retires, and big damage there for Verstappen in last year's race. Verstappen was handed a 10-second
not too far apart on track. So this is
braking.
It's been a strong weekend for Bortoletto.
And more action going on under braking as he's able to make an overtake.
And they should get back to Lawson and Alonso here for potential 6th and 7th. He's taken one stopping. The Saubers have done 2 pit stops.
Mr. Van Ock gone drifting one to the inside of Isaac Hadjar. Hadjar on that one stop on fading rubber, and Ocon, 7-lap old hard tyres, has the place, has the point. He's 2.2 seconds away from Hulkenberg, who's chasing down his teammate. Hulkenberg started on the soft, went to the medium, he's gone to another medium tyre. He's up 11 places in the Grand Prix. And he did say he had more pace in the car yesterday. He's proved it today.
His
qualifying's haven't actually been very good this year.
He's been
not by the standard of last year.
Laps to go, but definitely coming into the standard of hit in his career. He's
historically a rapid driver over one lap, but this year it's sort of gone away. But his races have been amazing.
Not a great lap for Isaac Hadjar.
Grid and looking like he's going to get another point score.
Talking of rapid over one lap, this is a scorching lap from Oscar Piastri. Fastest in the first sector, the second sector, and he comes over the line. The gap is 2.6 seconds.
Yeah, he's got the advantage of DRS in that first sector of Behrman, and he's decided to use that around the rest of the lap. So this is now the hurry-up time for Norris, isn't it? He's got plenty of experience at the beginning of the race of managing
It's 10 laps to go. He is on the hunt. It's 2.6 seconds. It's now under 3 seconds. Lando Norris will be seeing
can't afford a mistake now,
starting to
otherwise
emerge in his
exactly
mirrors.
what he's going to have
Will
again.
he be able to get him by the end of the race? He's got the
coming
fastest
up there
as well.
Hadjar,
I'll have
then
to
it's
wait and see,
Ocon,
but one
Hulkenberg and
thing's for
Bortoletto.
sure
He may
is
need to
that
clear them
Lando
all
Norris
before the
will
end of the
start
race,
seeing
and
a
Piastri
little
will be
speck
licking his
of
lips at
papaya
that.
in his mirrors, and that speck
So
is going to
Fernando
get
Alonso
bigger
remains
and
within a
bigger
second
and
of Liam
bigger
Lawson.
as
The
Oscar
Saubers
Piastri
are
comes
much
closer
quicker
and closer
than
to Lando
Fernando
Norris.
Alonso.
Puts
They're
him
reeling him
under
in,
pressure
but we're going to get a second
we saw
act
Norris
in the
under pressure
McLaren
from
battle for the
Piastri
lead.
earlier
On hard
in the
tyres,
race.
Lando Norris seemed
the
comfortable.
starting stages.
On
Will
mediums,
Joseph, I'm
like
sure,
the
will be
start of the
feeding
Grand Prix,
all of that information
Piastri
to
was
Lando
just able
Norris
to
from
extract
the pit
so
road. He
much
is his race
performance.
engineer,
And the
and
gap is
just
now
getting out of
2
the way and no
seconds
issues
as they
there
come across the
for
line
papaya
on lap
car
61 of 70.
And again, Julian, I was going to say, and again, he's going to get a slipstream of DRS from Hadjar.
As we mentioned
He wasn't the kindest, was he, at turn 7? It's a difficult place to let anyone through, though.
Each other any leeway when they were battling earlier on. Actually, quite
as soon as he got
between
through
the two of them.
out of the way,
and I'm sure at the end of this race,
that was
if
nice
they
timing,
do
wasn't
manage to come back in contact,
That's worked
that
well.
it will
Some
be
more traffic
amplified by
ahead.
100.
Ocon, Hulkenberg and Bortoletto are all going to come into play for Norris. He doesn't have the
100%. We want an interesting championship battle. We want an interesting race always. We don't want someone to be winning by 20 seconds. Every race, that makes it boring for us viewers and the people watching the race.
Last year,
to be close, and this championship
was Oscar
really
Piastri's moment at that corner.
Oscar Piastri has been the one leading it, the one being the hunted for most of the season. Lando Norris is starting to come back into his own, though. We've seen he's had a lot of pace, more confidence in the last few races, and now he's leading. But Oscar Piastri today is the hunter. He is so fast, and we know that from the whole season, leading the championship.
It's incredible, actually, just how much you can sort of spy in the cab, isn't it? It's
just 2 seconds now.
Scarlett, do you think it's easier to be the one that's chasing or the one that is out in front?
Oh, well, when you're out in front, you've not got, any of that dirty air. But, if you're the one behind, it's hard to know because you've got the pressure of whoever's behind you. But then you're happy sitting in front, but I guess there's so much pressure when you're
It's a difficult thing when you're being told where to go and find the time. Of course, it's useful, but then you've got to go and do it yourself. And doing that in the high speeds, we're about to find the high-speed corners in the exit of this one. This is the final low-speed turn of 4. He's right at the apex here. He's got the car ahead.
Have cars up ahead of you, which is what Lando Norris currently has, Kai.
But it might affect Piastri, so he pulls back in the line. Piastri's going to pick up just a bit of dirty air through 7.
Yeah, surely it has to be. I mean, just driving your own car on the motorway is a distraction
but he's been quite fortunate with the traffic.
Imagine what it's like driving 300 kilometers an hour.
You just don't feel like you're as glued to the road, just struggling a little bit for front end on turning, the rear downforce is going away as well. And the Formula 1 car now, lower fuel, new medium tyres should be feeling fairly hooked up. And the whole thing just feels like you've got a couple of percent less downforce and less grip
and he's
effectively
looking
when you're at the
feisty.
wheel.
Oscar Piastri has come to play,
easy to
but
overheat
will
the
he be
tyres
able to
as
bring
well
down
in
this
that
gap?
window. So the
8
gap
laps
is
to go,
1.7 seconds.
less than 2
the good thing for
seconds.
Norris
It
in
looks
this
like the race is on.
The race is on, and we're going to hopefully be treated to an amazing battle.
But because
1.7 seconds
you've got,
now, the gap between the
all
top
the data,
temps are starting to come down now.
hundreds of telemetry channels available on Oscar's car and his driving. That can be fed straight back
and a little
by
bit
a
of an
race
update
engineer
once again
to Lando Norris at the wheel. And so they've got that information high speed, but potentially it's just traffic for Norris. Piastri's had a good run through the traffic so far.
Lando Norris,
just to put our audience in the cockpit, we're late in the Grand Prix. These guys have probably
Oscar Piastri starting to loom large in his mirrors, and we're hoping for an intense battle in the last few laps, Zach.
Yeah, Lando will be pushing everything he can try and get out of the car. We know he's been so quick in every practice session. Not every practice session because he didn't participate in practice 1, but practice 2 and practice 3, he led the timetables. He was then pole in qualifying, and now he's leading the race. But his teammate, Oscar Piastri, brilliant driver. He's coming back into it, and he's putting him under immense pressure. Piastri is really starting
pero alguien me podía haber dicho en el chat que se escuchaba doble.
And this is going to be a really exciting last few laps. I mean, this is exactly what you want. The last few laps
¿Alguien en el chat?
on the edge of your seat and ready to see the battle between the top 2 drivers
O sea,
in the
¿alguien en
championship
el
at the
chat?
moment.
Hola.
Yeah, this is top quality Formula 1 racing here, and this is what you love to see. This is what you come to the track for and sit down at home to watch. Oscar Piastri, he said in the media that he's happy for them to back.
Lo que yo, o sea, mientras estoy en mi trabajo, lo que yo he disfrutado ver salir a los que se pelean el puesto en Mercedes ha sido una maravilla. O sea, ¿qué es ese choque entre el niño maravilla del futuro, el chiquitín este de Kimi Andrea Antonelli contra el 4 veces campeón del mundo Max Emilian Verstappen? O sea, ¿qué fue eso? ¿Qué fue eso? ¿Alguien me puede explicar? ¿Alguien me puede explicar qué carajos fue eso? Eso fue arte, eso fue magia. Por Dios. Qué locura.
Just a really important piece of information.
Y además a eso le agregas
which is also an important piece of information, but Oscar Piastri has got past
que Bortoleto estuvo en un momento detrás de Hamilton, quinto. Bro, la mejor carrera probablemente de todo el año hasta ahora.
Yes, I don't know why he keeps reminding him to drink. Just let the driver do what he wants.
¿Alguien tiene que decir lo contrario?
He has actually got the gap just over 2 seconds now. Maybe Oscar pushed a little bit hard, trying to catch Lando at the start. But he has to
bueno, y verlos obviamente competir a los McLaren ha sido bonito.
Or he makes a mistake and Oscar be right on him. So they are correct to tell him to drink, but maybe he just needs to go forwards and not hear his team, a race engineer in his ears all the time right now.
Yeah, and Lando Norris, you know, the thing that was important from that radio was that he's got that little bit
Igual
of
lo que
damage
estoy
on
viendo
the front wing, and that can affect
con
the balance
Piastri es
of the car,
que
can't it?
decidió
And
salvar
something
los
that's
muebles, ¿no?
gonna affect Yuki
Oh,
Tsunoda's
no,
race
hombre,
is a
no,
10-second
Tsunoda.
time penalty, Kai.
Yeah, that's the last thing
Tsunoda.
you want to hear. It hasn't been the day that Yuki Tsunoda would have been hoping
No.
for. It's just been problem after
Tsunoda
another.
otra
Qualifying
vez,
didn't go his way,
penalización.
and now he's been awarded a 10-second penalty. He is already in 16th position, so that won't change his finishing position as it stands. But Lando Norris, over the radio, as we mentioned,
¿Alguien en el
gets
chat?
information about
¿Alguien?
that little bit of damage,
¿Alguien?
and that will strike
¿Alguien?
fear into the heart of Lando Norris, because that is the last thing
Que me
that
diga
you
qué
want to
estamos
hear.
viendo.
Let's see if we can spot the damage here as we look at the car. If I look at it myself, I'm not going to lie to you guys here, I couldn't spot the damage.
I couldn't either.
I couldn't
if
see
it's
anything.
damage, it's definitely small, but what I can spot is the tyres not looking in the best shape, are they, Zach?
¿Hay un daño? ¿Se tocaron? ¿Alguien me explica? ¿Se tocaron? Yo no vi un toque. Pero estoy escuchando a los comentaristas y es como, ¿qué? ¿Hubo un contacto? Porque supuestamente tienen un daño. El daño es en las gomas, o sea, el desgaste, pero no hay ningún daño.
If he reaches them by the end of the race, it might prohibit him from getting through cleanly, and then Oscar
¿Me
Piastri
escuchan?
will
Hola, 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 ¿me escuchan? ¿Me escuchan? ¿Me escuchan? ¿Alguien? ¿Alguien? Hola. ¿Alguien que me confirme que yo existo, que yo soy real en internet?
You know, having anyone, especially your teammate, you know, right behind you, really working hard. I mean, Oscar Piastri's only 2 seconds behind Lando Norris.
No, y Hamilton.
So much, you know, throughout pretty much the whole race. It's so difficult.
Y Hamilton cuarto.
It is, and he has had to think about him the entire race as well, and think about him more and more as he
Le
starts to
sacan
get closer and closer. It's
18 segundos Piastri a Leclerc. O sea que
we're on lap 68 of 70, Kai. It's getting close.
Yeah, dying embers of the race now as we are in the closing stages
Bortoleto
of what has
peleando
been
con
an energetic Austrian
con
Grand
Alonso.
Prix, one for the ages and one that's put on a
El
brilliant
maestro
show
con
for us
el
here
aprendiz.
at F1 Kids. 2 seconds is still the gap between Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri.
El maestro siendo perseguido por el aprendiz.
Miracle if Oscar Piastri wants to catch on to the back of Lando Norris. Something drastic.
Hola Carmen, hola Carmen, hola guapa, ¿cómo vamos? Perdón, ¿eres Carmen? No, no eres Carmen, ¿cierto? No eres Carmen, eres... hace tanto que no vienes, Carmen, que no me acuerdo de cómo es tu nombre. Si es Mateo, creo que es Mateo, no me acuerdo. No me acuerdo, no me acuerdo. Cámbiate el nombre, por favor. Vamos, Bortoleto.
George, can you let me know if this is the current pace?
You know the answer.
Hey, thank you.
¿Me puedes confirmar si este es el ritmo del auto? Y como sabe la respuesta. Muchas gracias. ¡Hombre! ¡Hombre, Alonso! ¡Hombre, Alonso!
And the two of these drivers are battling as well towards the end of the race, and actually
Y no se la deja fácil el Alonso.
Fernando Alonso, and what a person to be battling with on the track.
Yes, the most experienced driver of them all. Fernando Alonso, he's had so many years behind the wheel, and he's really wily. He knows exactly how
Pero el
to
Bortoleto aprendiendo, mira, mira, mira. Se le va, se le va, se le va.
He knows exactly what to do.
Se le va, se le va. No, ya lo dejó ir, ya lo dejó ir.
Behind Lando Norris, the gap has come down, but they're going to be coming onto the last lap.
Ah, no, no, porque le abrió espacio fue al líder. Bueno. Bueno.
Lando Norris also has traffic.
Gana Norris. Gana Norris. Bien por Norris. Bien por Norris. O sea, me alegra por Norris, aunque estemos hablando de una Fórmula 1 que va a ganar Oscar Piastri.
close behind there, but it really does look like Lando Norris is going to have done enough. He faced so much pressure today, but the back markers trying to repass Lando Norris and trying to make things difficult towards the end of this race for Lando Norris. They want to get those positions back and unlap themselves, because they're also, well, Fernando Alonso also under pressure from Gabriel Bortoleto, but it certainly looks like Lando Norris is going to have done enough, because now, of course,
bajaron la diferencia a 1.8 y 2 segundos Norris. Pero bueno, bravo por Norris, bravo por Norris, bravo por Norris. Igual lo que le acaba de sacar Piastri a Max Verstappen no tiene ningún tipo de sentido. Bravo, bravo, bravo.
And that was Lando Norris, and he's going to be so happy with that. The whole team will. I mean, you know, last year at this Grand Prix,
Charles Leclerc tercero. Bueno, otro podio para Ferrari, ¿no? ¿Me permites, F1 TV, escuchar las declaraciones en el plan premium que estoy pagando, carajo? Mamá, sálgase del plan premium que estoy pagando. Por amor a Dios, no lo puedo creer. No puedo creer que en serio en toda la carrera no pude escuchar la versión premium del plan que estoy pagando, bro. A ver. Aquí sí, va. Este hombre. La Maono. Ahí está.
Sumando y se aleja del último lugar. Alpine no pudo sumar, terminó 13º Gasly y 15º con la penalidad Franco Colapinto. Sí, Juan.
Well done. Great job.
Muy bien hecho. Felicita a todos. Muy bueno el 1-2. Fue muy bueno.
Thanks everyone. Amazing work.
Gracias, gran trabajo.
I agree, mate. Follow the process.
No, decía, ¿no? Bortoleto, primeros puntos en la Fórmula 1, ahora quedan sin puntos para sumar solamente Franco Colapinto y bueno, Jack Doohan, que ya no está más en la Fórmula 1, así que esperemos que en el futuro sí pueda ser el quien sume para no quedar allí en cero, y lo cierto es que qué carrera, ¿eh? Y el error casi lo comete en esta ocasión Piastri, estuvo cerca.
Sí, muy cerquita.
Pero bueno, lo dejaron pelear, ¿eh? Lo dejaron pelear y es lo lindo, ¿eh? Espectáculo.
Yeah, sorry for the turn 4.
Bueno, pide disculpas por la curva 4. Fue mala mía. Como hizo Norris el otro día, aquí estuvo a punto. Esto va a pasar siempre, Fernando. Las cosas están abiertas y bueno, como bien decías, para el espectáculo es fantástico.
Así es. Bueno, ahí estaba el récord de Oscar Piastri. 1:7.9.24, el récord del piloto australiano para este Gran Premio de Austria. Ahí está el vencedor, Lando Norris. Brillante Norris para ganar esta carrera. Reitero, es la 8ª victoria en 11 carreras del equipo McLaren en esta temporada. Tiene 2 victorias Max Verstappen para Red Bull y una Russell para el equipo Mercedes, la última, la del Gran Premio de Canadá. Todo lo demás ha sido de McLaren. 5 victorias de Piastri, 3 de este hombre, Lando Norris, que se mantiene en la lucha, Cochito, por el campeonato.
Sí, campeonato. ¡Hombre!
Dijimos, ¿no?
El piloto del día.
De Lando, otros a favor de Piastri.
El piloto del día, qué cabrón. Va a abrazar Fernando a Gabriel y dice: bien hecho, mi chino, bien hecho.
Sin ninguna duda, y también adelantamos, ¿no? Que Piastri venía con un gran ritmo, pero una cosa es cuando venís solo, con aire limpio, poder empujar. Cuando llegás a los 2 segundos de tu compañero de equipo que tiene un auto más o menos similar, un ritmo similar,
recortar ese último segundo para entrar en DRS con aire sucio es muy complicado.
Lo chocó al final,
estabilizado, bueno, ahí lo chocó, afuera de la pista, está bien.
Al final lo chocó. Ahí, cuando se bajaba de la balanza. Aprovechó también para pedirle disculpas. Perdón, Cochito, pero allí estaba...
Ahí lo va a felicitar, mirá.
Alonso con Bortoleto, Primeros puntos para Bortoleto, que, como les decía, está en la academia de pilotos de Fernando Alonso.
No pudiste, lo va a decir bien, pero no pudiste.
Y ahí se abrazan, lucharon en la pista como hay que luchar y también se abrazaron, ¿no? Un muy buen final. Maravillosa esta Fórmula 1 y el deporte en general. Cuando se comprende bien, ¿no? Cómo tienen que ser las reglas. Ahí está Lando Norris, muy tranquilo Lando. Que ahora va a sonreír, claro.
Bueno, bien por Lando, bien por Lando, bien por Lando. Recorta un par de puntos.
Los últimos ganadores han sido Verstappen.
Bueno, Hamilton, cuarto, hermano. Cuarto.
Gran fin de semana para Lando, que no hizo la primera práctica.
Está decepcionado este cabrón.
La segunda dominó absolutamente todo.
No puede ser, hermano. No puede ser que en serio Hamilton está decepcionado. Bro, salió y terminó en la misma posición. O sea, eso es algo. Este sí es un fiasco. Este es un fiasco, bro. El Leclerc es un fiasco, hermano. O sea, sale segundo y termina tercero. Nah, hombre. Nah, hombre, no. Las entrevistas por David Balsecchi.
Lando, what a race, what enormous pressure. How did you handle it? And that was from your side.
Qué carrera.
That was just epic.
Yeah, it was a tough race.
Fue dura.
You know, pushing the whole way through, but tricky, hot, tiring. But the perfect result for us as a team. A 1-2 is exactly what we want, and we did it again, so I'm very happy.
Probably the best comeback after Canada. What a turnaround.
Uno de los,
how did you handle Oscar Piastri
lo que queríamos como equipo. Lo logramos.
At a certain point when you took you just up
Yes.
there in turn 3.
We had a great battle, that's for sure. Yeah, it was a lot of fun for me. A lot of stress, but a lot of fun, and yes, a nice battle. So well done to Oscar. Hopefully it was a nice one for everyone to watch. But inside the car was tough, especially when he was in the DRS. The DRS is so big around here, and it's hard to get him out of the gap. But once I did, I could manage things pretty well. But yeah, it was so quick, so it was good fun.
Congratulations, thank you. It was a great show.
Thank you.
It was a great show. Fue un buen show.
And Oscar, congratulations.
Oscar.
How was from inside their car? Because it was impressive how you could put pressure and apply pressure for all the first 20 laps was just something unbelievable. How was from inside?
Intense.
¿Cómo fue desde
I
adentro?
hope it was
Intenso.
because it was pretty hard work from the car. So yeah, tried my absolute best, and you know, probably could have done a better job.
Lo intenté mejor, lo intenté lo mejor que pude. Pude haber hecho algo mejor.
Yep, it was a good battle. A bit on the edge at times,
una buena pelea.
and probably pushed the limits a bit far, but.
Estuvimos un poquito al límite.
It was a good race, you know. That's what we're here to do. Try and race each other. And
Pero fue una buena carrera y es lo que estamos acá para competir entre nosotros.
Not quite enough. So thanks to the team.
No fue suficiente.
The kind of pace we did whilst battling each other was very impressive. So I can't thank the team enough for the car we've got.
And after yesterday, after your Friday, did you expect to be so competitive to fight Lando all through the entire race?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was possible. I think qualifying yesterday was.
¿Crees que era posible realmente competirle a Lando 1-1? Sí, realmente sí.
This weekend has been good. So,
el fin de semana ha sido bueno. Me pude quedar durante en el DRS bastante tiempo, así que fue una gran mejora. Pero pues tenemos que seguir, tenemos que seguir dando un poquito más para mejorar. Charles, la gran decepción del fin de semana.
Tell me your feeling after you're back on podium. I think at the beginning you wanted to fight for victory, but then the pace was there. What do you think? How do you rate your weekend?
Oh, I mean, I rate our weekend as a team, I think, really well. But unfortunately, the pace today was just not enough. In the first corner, I was thinking about going, but Lando closed the door, and then that left the door open to Oscar. I lost the second place there, but then anyway, I think they were too fast for us to stay in second. So third was the best we could do. I don't regret much of what we've done today. I think we've done our maximum, just not enough pace.
And tell me about your Ferrari. The move at the corner 3 was good because behind
no fue
the contact, so probably it was better to stay calm in that corner. And about your Ferrari, seems that during the weekend you improved a bit. Then in the race, seems that in the first part you were closer. How was your feeling inside the car?
Yeah, in the first set, I think I overpushed a little bit at the beginning, trying to follow them. Then I degraded a little bit more, but it's part of the game. I mean, I've tried at the end, and he didn't make it today. I think eventually we need more pace. We've brought some upgrades though this weekend, and they definitely helped us to do a step forward. But we need to keep pushing in that direction in order to close the gap to the McLaren that for now are too quick.
And about the next racing, because you know, we are missing a Leclerc victory this year, so tell me about the next races.
I'm missing it too, so I'll give it all to try and be back on the top step of the
Yo
podium.
también extraño las victorias.
The whole team deserves it, and hopefully it will be at the next
el equipo realmente se lo merece.
Thank you so much.
Vamos a ver.
Congratulations.
Próximo fin de semana en Silverstone.
The top 3. Charles Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, and Lando Norris. They are heading to the podium. The crowd have made their way onto the circuit. Another.
Amigos. ¿Cómo vieron eso? ¿Cómo vieron eso, amigos? Yo lo vi loquísimo. Yo lo vi loco. O sea, me pareció muy interesante la salida de este hombre al inicio. O sea, que este hombre haya salido al inicio fue una sorpresa que dije, oh my goodness, se puede venir. Y bueno, la lucha entre esos dos estuvo buena, estuvo interesante. Pero bueno, pues nada, no terminó ganando Piastri. Pero bueno, fue interesante entre estos dos, así que bueno, veremos. Y lo que digo, Charles está ahí. Es ahí. Es un... not enough. Nunca es enough. Y bueno, Hamilton ni se diga, o sea, Hamilton es otra historia. Hamilton quinto, Leclerc, Hamilton sexto, Leclerc quinto, Russell cuarto, Verstappen tercero, que pierde buena distancia con Norris y más distancia con Piastri. Aunque la diferencia entre Piastri y Norris se reduce a 15.
Oscar Piastri was eventually joined by racer Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc. Now, in traditional TV style, I say apologies for any language you might have heard. Ferrari are underneath the podium for Charles Leclerc. Oscar Piastri is in second position. He was 2.6 seconds away across the line. Both McLarens back on the podium after that dramatic moment, and neither one of them on the rostrum for the first time all season in the 10th Grand Prix, a 1-2 in the 11th, and they head to their home race, and Lando Norris's home race, with a 1-2 to show for it. They'll head back to Woking, to that glorious factory / movie set that they have, with 3 trophies to show for it. 1 for the constructors, 1 for second place, and 1 for our winner. For the 7th time in Formula 1, we will welcome Lando Norris to the top step. But first of all, it was a step forward for Ferrari, but in the end, Charles Leclerc was 19 seconds away from the
La
race
victoria
winning pace.
viaja.
And that included a battle all the way through.
La victoria viaja en Luis Button. ¡Ojo, Bernie Ecclestone! Bernie Ecclestone.
Brilliant effect, though. Oscar Piastri Got past Charles Leclerc into the first turn. There's his race engineer, Tom Stallard. 15-point lead in the championship. But Lando Norris, in Australia, in Monaco, and now in Austria, is climbing to the top step of the podium.
Ahí está, himno inglés por los dos, ¿no? Por piloto y equipo. Y Bernie Eccleston, ¡qué locura! ¿Entregará un trofeo? Yo creo que sí, ¿no? Yo creo que sí. Bueno, las papayas, bien las papayas. Vamos las papayas, carajo. Ganaron las papayas. Y me alegro por Gabriel Bortoletti y sus primeros puntos del año. Qué bonito, qué bonito. Qué bonito por el brasileño.
Soaking in every moment. 7 wins in Formula 1 now for Lando Norris.
Lo único que me dejó en duda fue el movimiento que tuvo uno de los Alpine contra Piastri. ¿Fue franco o fue Gasly? Porque si fue franco, bro, horrible. La medalla la pone Bernie Eccleston.
For so many years, ran Formula 1. Bernie Eccleston invites the winner down. You need his CV to tell the winner what to do. But he invites him down to present him with the gold medal.
El trofeo de constructores.
And Neil Holdley is the technical director of engineering at McLaren. Is accepting the constructors trophy for them.
El trofeo para Piastri.
This season. 4th place last time, 9th place at his home
Let's
Grand Prix, the rest of
go.
the time in the top 3, and still the leader of the World Championship.
Y el trofeo para Charles Leclerc por parte de la diputada gobernadora de Estiria.
7th time in his Formula 1 career, is a podium finisher. As Ferrari take a step forward, but still
Y que venga la champaña. Baja el trofeo. Baja el trofeo, lo pone como sobre el suelo como para que no se rompa, no le suceda nada. Y ahí sí saca la este y dice, vamos a usar así a rociar esta vaina. Let's go.
He heads to Silverstone with the largest trophy and a 15-point gap to try and
¿Cuál fue el momento que más les gustó de la carrera?
For the title between Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, the top 2 in the World Championship and the Grand Prix today.
La batalla entre las papayas.
One more for the album. And Piastri and Norris now have 7 wins apiece in their Formula 1 careers. Charles Leclerc celebrates a 5th podium finish at this racetrack. And it was a weekend with plenty of narratives elsewhere for Liam Lawson, turning the page on a tough start to this season. First points for Gabriel Bortoletti, who was the driver of the day. Both Salvers in the points, Ocon with a fine improvement, but it's Lando's day, it's Lando's race, and it's game on for the championship of the world. Another wonderful Austrian Grand Prix weekend is completed. We'll be racing here until 2041. But that was the moment that Oscar Piastri came second, Lando Norris came first, and McLaren 1-2. And the celebrations begin.
Es que no sé qué otra cosa voy a poner. Yo creo que no tengo que poner nada más. Ahí voy a poner. Ahí está, amigos. Voten cuál es su mejor momento de la carrera. Yo en lo personal voy a poner la batalla de Yo voy a poner la batalla. A ver, déjenme ver. Un momento. Yo voy a poner la batalla entre Alonso y Bortoleto, aunque me gustó mucho el choque entre los que están peleándose el puesto en Mercedes. Entre Max Verstappen y Kimi Antonelli. Así que ese fue mi momento favorito. ¿Vale? Ese fue mi momento favorito. Bof. ¡Qué locura! Ese es el post-race. ¡Wow! ¡Qué barbaridad! Post-race. Increíble. Gracias. Así que, amigos, voten ahora. Voten ahora. ¿Cuál es su momento favorito de la carrera? A mí, la batalla entre Alonso y Bortoleto. Fue muy guapa. Fue muy guapa. A ver. Quiero ver entrevistas a Bortoleto. Quiero ver la entrevista a Hamilton porque lo vi decaído. Y dije como, bro, terminó cuarto. O sea, terminó cuarto. Lo más lamentable hubiera sido haber salido cuarto y haber terminado 15. Pasado por Bortoleto, Colapinto y Tsunoda. Pero no terminó tan mal, no terminó tan mal.
Lando Norris against Oscar Piastri.
O sea, básicamente terminó en el puesto en el que largó. That's it. O sea, eso es más que suficiente. Eso tiene que ser más que suficiente para Hamilton.
In P2.
Vamos a ver.
A great moment for Ferrari as well. Charles Leclerc back on the podium in P3 and Lewis Hamilton just behind. Guys, I mean, so much to unpick, but we've got to talk about the story of the day.
¿Por qué no entrevistaron a Hamilton?
Wheel-to-wheel racing that we have seen this season. It was just amazing to watch two of the best drivers in the world going head-to-head. Davide?
Yeah, I loved it. I was surprised how Norris handled the situation so well, because having the pressure of Piastri for the first 20 laps is not easy, and he managed it very, very well, so I was extremely happy for him. And I got surprised by Piastri, because looking his weekend, I didn't thought he was strong enough and has the pace enough to fight Norris for the victory. So surprised me once again, because you can never count Piastri out for anything. That's why probably
no, es que Piastri podía haber ganado esa carrera.
Great battle. I really
Piastri
enjoyed
pudo haber ganado la
McLaren,
carrera.
let them drive how they want, and yeah, it was perfect.
Yeah, the main story of the day is McLaren whitewashed the field, isn't it? That's the pace advantage which they had, and respect and thank you to McLaren for letting the two drivers race, because that gave us so much action.
Se agradece mucho que los hayan dejado correr.
After they clashed in Canada, clearly Lando Norris's fault. He owned up for that one. I think it was a really important
Fue error de Lando,
for Lando to take home
el
the victory
contacto.
and draws a line under that. They raced hard between them as well, without coming to blows, although there are a couple of close moments here and there, a couple of moments that I'm sure had Andrea Stella backing away from the screen on the pit wall for McLaren. But yeah, Lando Norris, I think, with that, draws a line under Canada, and they move through and demonstrate such strength at this phase of the season.
They really do. And just generally, though, you know, as a race, it was a really busy one. It was difficult conditions. There was traffic out on track. The tyre temperatures were really hard to manage. Overall, it was a very tricky one.
I think there was a bigger distance on pace, to be honest, between McLaren, then Ferrari, and then Mercedes than I was expecting. I mean, we talked about this track being one of the shorter racing laps of the year. We expected incredibly fine margins between the cars, Davide, but actually, you know, I think the temperature generates the performance differential that we've seen between the cars.
Yeah, and created a lot of troubles also to the driver, because we need to consider that 50 degrees asphalt, 31 degrees the temperature, and having Piastri always in the DRS zone for the first 20 laps. We saw them just before the podium. They were, you know, they were proved. I mean, they felt it. So Piastri, the focus and the concentration that you need to stay in the DRS zone. So under a second to the car in front of you, I mean, it's stressful. So I could get why they were tired, and I could get why was a great victory for Norris, because it was not an easy one. Well done to him.
No, exactly. We are going to do more analysis on McLaren's
Vamos.
race. But first, let's bring in Esteban Ocon. Come and join us.
Esteban.
Congratulations, a point today. Well done. Great race.
Yeah, thank you. It was
Tuvo un punto.
quite warm out there. Also, I didn't have a drink in the car, so you know it was a bit long. But yeah, good fun. Hard fought
Tuvo un
race.
punto nomás.
A bit too tight at times, a bit too much wheel banging. But as we were not qualifying well, you know, we had to make it a tough race and try and come back and do things. So we did so. Happy.
Good, excellent.
Esteban, I spoke to Io on the grid.
Terminó. Terminó
décimo,
no me he dado cuenta. No me he dado cuenta. No me he dado cuenta. Estaba tan pendiente de Alonso y Bortoleto y de los dos de adelante que no me di cuenta que con terminó décimo. Qué guapo.
We kind of, you know, got the position and settled it, you know, after that first hard. We made, you know, most of the work between the first, you know, stop and just before stopping for the second one. So I need to review with the guys, but that's my feeling at the moment. Yeah, it was very tough out there, but you know, we need to find a bit more qualifying pace. Definitely, that's the aim.
Yeah, it was interesting on this side because usually the strategy is the key for your race, but seems that the strategy is with trusting the driver, and we'll see, because your overtake for the 10th position, tell me.
Yeah,
was not a bad one, eh?
No, it was nice. It was nice. Thank you, Davide. I appreciate. Yeah, I think that was the cleanest one. You know, you need to see the others. The others, I flew over the sausage curve. You know, that was different. But no, I mean, there's a lot of work going on to try and pick up the best strategies. I think the team has done, you know, a great job.
Tsunoda terminó último.
The race, especially from where we come from, try and use the race pace.
Qué locura.
2 races in a row where we are scoring points.
16.
Today,
y Colapinto
but we need to find
15.
more performance for Silverstone, because that would be tough if we start from the back.
Yeah, you've seen what's happened with Sauber this weekend. You know, they put a new floor on the car. It could be specific to this circuit, but the performance is
y los dos Sauber, octavo y noveno.
Left behind a little bit on the upgrade cycle now?
Was there in Barcelona or it was here, the update? Do you know?
They brought a new floor here.
Here as well?
Yes.
Okay, because I heard there was something in Barcelona, so it's twice, so it makes sense that they are so fast. We'll see next week. Hopefully, we will have something.
Good. You had a nice little battle with Colapinto there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Always fun to race. It was a bit tight on that side, but good fun. You know, we had a chat with Franco afterwards. That's the one which was a bit too tight for my Vikings. Because my car went in neutral. I thought I broke the gearbox at that stage. So yeah, that scared me a little bit. But yeah, we were wheel to wheel for, I think, 2 laps in a row, because in the first team we fight, on that last one we fought again. So yeah, as I said, we need to make a little bit better Saturdays to have a bit more chill days on Sunday.
So how are you going to make that happen before Silverstone?
Necesitamos hacer un mejor sábado para que sea un domingo más relajado, más tranquilo.
If it's 5 or 7 degrees less, it's not a bad thing. We
can pretty much guarantee you that.
Thank you.
Bueno, el clima.
Esteban, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you. See you guys soon.
Enjoy a moment to relax, but there's not long, is it? They really don't have a minute. There'll be a team debrief, fly home, and then it will all be fully focused into Silverstone next
I'm
week.
insulted. The British summertime is going to be
glorious. Comentarios.
Glorious at Silverstone.
Glorious for us.
Davide,
it's 23 degrees.
Davide
Come on, let's be honest.
Very tenuous about British summer.
Anyway, they are always there. Congratulations to him. Congratulations to Team Haas, because fight for the last few points.
Wow, increíble. Son un espectacular clima de 23 grados. Es como...
I'm slightly nervous that we jinxed what was going on at Williams.
En Latinoamérica eso está frío. O sea, 23 grados en Latinoamérica eso es frío. Pero para ellos está perfecto.
To retire both cars, one even before the race. I mean,
no, qué loco. Uy, sí, no, lo de los Williams fue horrible. ¿Cómo así que es que los dos Williams fuera de carrera, primero Sainz y luego Albon. No.
And we've heard from both drivers in the pen, and neither of them are quite sure exactly what's gone on with the cars, but hopefully we'll hear from James Bowser a little later on. But they didn't have pace this weekend or reliability, the two fundamentals of motorsport.
Damn.
But that is the worrying thing, isn't it, when you're sitting scratching your head and you're not quite sure what is going on with the car. Well, there is plenty more analysis coming your way, but just in case you missed all the race action, here is a reminder of how the Austrian Grand Prix went down.
Un pequeño resumen de todo lo que sucedió en el Gran Premio.
And the Grand Prix is underway. Oscar Piastri roars around the outside and takes second position. Antonelli, he's hit Max Verstappen at turn 3.
I got hit. Idiots. Sorry about that. Locked the rear.
The two McLarens are side by
Buah,
side.
a él le está explicando, él explicó a Antonelli el contacto.
Absolutely brilliant stuff. Gabriel Bortoleto trying to score his first points today. Just a waft to the inside, looking for more, locking up.
The manoeuvre in turn 4 with the front lockup was too marginal. We can't do that again.
Pinto with a late braking move. Sonoda trying to repay the favour. They make contact and they spin. Sonoda and Pinto. Oscar Piastri onto the grass.
Eso fue Colapinto.
So many questions and Lando.
Por Dios, lo de Colapinto, bro.
Wins in a massive result for the World Championship.
Lo de Colapinto, hermano. Lo de Colapinto, hermano. Por Dios.
A very, very special moment indeed for Lando Norris, taking his third win of the season.
Lo de Colapinto, hermano. ¿Qué es eso de Colapinto? Porque yo vi esa escena, pero no sabía si era Colapinto o era Gasly, el que estaba intentando cerrar a Piastri y lo llevó a la tierra. Y es como... Y que ahorita digas que es Colapinto, pero... Porque ya entiendo por qué estaban diciendo hace un rato de que se llevó una penalización. Pero...
Well closed the door from Norris. Piastri tried the outside, he jumped him, and then Norris opened the line to just have a better exit, and the use of the DRS was very clever and smart on that move, and on the outside he dived into him in turn 4, so he got overtaken, but then he gave it back immediately after one corner. Was very clever and probably the key moment of his race. That one, and look later on, he tried on the inside immediately Piastri, but Norris was using this outside line maybe for conserving the rear tires. He could get the position, could maintain the position. That was a very interesting move. Look at the mistake. I think lap 16, he went wide penultimate corner, and then again in the last one, it seems that he was pulling away, but no, Piastri again, he was on his back, he tried, but no, that was tough, that was tough. He almost missed that break and crashed into Norris. That was a very close call. In fact, the team didn't like it.
No.
Think that he opened
Lo de que casi se hubieran tocado, qué loco.
He did
Qué
apologize,
loco.
he came over the radio.
Oscar, feedback from the pit wall. The manoeuvre in turn 4 with the front lockup was too marginal. We can't do that again.
So, you know, respect to McLaren for letting the two of them race, but I really think here, you're either letting them race or you're not. You know, when you
Sí, claro.
talk to your engineer and over the...
Es una línea muy delgada. O los dejas correr o no los dejas correr. Y ya. Y los dejas correr a expensas de que se lleguen a tocar en algún momento.
Job in this instance. So respect to McLaren for letting them race, but I agree with DC in commentary that's what is he supposed to do with that information? Clearly, they have their papaya rules, their understanding of racing respect down at McLaren. They've allowed the drivers to race and respected them for that. We saw some brilliant racing between the pair of them through the 70 laps. But there, I think they've just got to let them get on with it and understand that that's the risk that they take if they let them go wheel to wheel.
You could hear, though, he was quite apologetic, Piastri, with that incident. Do you think that is important when it comes to the team dynamics there, or is he just saying, all right, guys, you know, I'll take a breath?
I think it's a sense of the control that McLaren still have over the two of them. That when told that that's too much, Oscar Piastri immediately defers to the team. And, you know, there have obviously been conversations after Canada as well, you would expect there to be. What's clear is it's boiled over once. McLaren have wrestled back control of these two contenders.
Yeah.
But, you know, Piastri had an opportunity to win that race, I think, strategically and on track. If he'd found a little bit more pace on the hard tyre or pitted slightly earlier onto that hard tyre, he might well have taken more of a fight to Norris.
Very quick. From my side, the conduct of McLaren was unbelievable and perfect. He tried, he missed the chance, he almost crashed into Norris. Stop, it's done.
And he reined it back in.
That's for me was the point, and thanks to them, we had a great show at the beginning. So,
what about pit stops? Because it felt like, obviously, you know, Lando Norris was in charge of taking the first pit stop. He went, I think, lap 21. But then you've got Piastri, who was also trying to manage the flat spot on his tyre and had to pit about 5 laps later. Is that Lando Norris showing that he had command of the race?
I think that they tried to give the Piastri the chance to have a different strategy, to go longer, but then probably that flat stop was not a big one. Yeah. But anyway, was a difficulties for him for having a good rhythm, and so didn't work out so well. That was dangerous anyway. He tried, and then he realized that he was too far behind. He held the brake a bit longer, and he flat spot the front right. I mean, if there was a collision there, both McLaren out, you cannot imagine.
No, eso hubiera sido desastroso.
The end of the world for them on the sporting side. So
eso hubiera sido desastroso. Si se hubieran tocado.
That's on the drivers. That's on the drivers.
Y los carros afuera.
With each other as they did in Canada. I mean, I think it's on Piastri as well. The strategy. McLaren were really clear with him. What do you want to do? Do you want to have more of a tyre delta and more of a gap, or less of a tyre? Basically, how far do you want to go into this race to give yourself the better tyre performance and the opportunity to take Lando? Of course, foregoing the gap which Lando was taking away from him every lap before Piastri pitted. Piastri chose the bigger gap on the hard tyre. If he'd chosen differently, I think it probably could have worked out better. They looked very similar on pace on that hard tyre, and Piastri better, definitely, in the final stint on the medium, which would have put him closer. That loss of
Quiero las declaraciones de los pilotos. Yo quiero las declaraciones de los pilotos. La batalla entre los papayas. Vamos, let's go.
Working totally against each other, and yet there was also still a united front. That's not easy to manage.
And I liked also when Norris in the radio, the pace is not there, help me.
Yeah,
I love you, Norris, come on. Usually
it was a cry, wasn't it?
El ritmo no está, ayúdeme.
And I think that he did a very good race. Not easy to handle this type of pressure. Usually, it's the type of race that if you can win it, maybe can change your mentality for the next few races. We'll see.
Yeah, he needed just a few more laps.
Bueno, sí.
At the
Pues
end, but a fascinating battle from McLaren.
habrá que ver si es un antes y un después para Norris, ¿no? Lo dudo mucho porque él es muy pasivo. Para Gabriel, vamos. Gabriel Bortoleto, let's go.
Feels great finally, you know. I think it's great for the team, for everyone's confidence. I think everyone deserves it after such a clean weekend like we had, always in the top 10. To finish like this, both cars in the points, is amazing.
It has been an absolutely phenomenal weekend.
No, estuvo en un momento donde estuvo quinto y dije, bof, va a sobrepasar a Hamilton en cualquier momento.
If this guy is watching the high speeds, you know, like in the video.
We did it yesterday.
Yes, probably yes. Hopefully we're as quick as we were here, and we do a good job there.
Talk to us about the battle with Fernando at the end. Was the pass potentially on? Do you think you could have had to be searching for a new manager after the race?
Well, actually, it was, you know, when I was approaching him, I was like, okay, he's not gonna give me such a hard time, you know. I can catch Lawson here and everything. But man, when I arrived, it looked like the guy was fighting for the world championship. You know, it was amazing. We had such a great fight, and he just shows his level of experience and talent. You know, was just amazing. He gave me a hug just after we finished the race, and he said he was super happy for me. So
I mean, how cool is that?
Sí, no,
all the
yo,
drivers
yo,
in
yo.
the world go
I mean, I'm
head-to-head
fighting
to
with my
learn from
manager.
Alonso.
Yeah, I'm fighting with my manager. It's the best thing. But at the same time, you cannot do any mistake, because then it can be dangerous.
Yeah, that is a very good point.
Afecta el contrato, afecta el contrato del
Here,
manager.
though, because you look like you were similar to the Mercedes. Yeah, again,
Sí, no,
it's a hot day, but similar
además
to
de que
the
esté
Mercedes
peleando
on
contra su
pace
manager,
throughout the
o sea, que
race.
su
Had
manager
really good
literalmente
balance in
sea
qualifying.
Alonso, me
Is
parece
it a
curioso.
circuit-specific thing, or have you moved the car generally forward into the back end of the points?
Look, honestly, I wish I can tell you it's every time, but I really don't know. We need to see in the next tracks. You know, I feel like we have gone in a right direction. It will depend on how the track layout is. You know, I think Red Bull Ring is one of the best tracks for our car, and we have shown this weekend. But hopefully we can be fighting for points like we have been this weekend and consistently in the top 10. But it was quite crazy when I was actually catching Russell. I was like, what is going on here? Like,
Porque
are we in different strategies or what? But no, it's just pure
Silverstone
pace,
es
you know?
dura. Silverstone
Amazing
es
stuff. Well,
dura.
we will let you get back to
Thank you.
hopefully some well-earned celebrations. Hopefully Alonso will have the champagne flowing for you.
He will.
Brilliant stuff there. And of course,
Celebración por
right down at the back to also finish in the points. Fantastic.
por
Yeah,
4
it was
puntos.
actually a brilliant drive from Hülkenberg. I spent about 10 minutes trying to work out how he'd arrived in the top 10, but he pitted early off the soft, and then a monster undercut on everyone. The real smart stuff, though, was the final stint from Hülkenberg, where he was forced to pit early as a result of that, and then maintained the pace through to the end of the race. They've really found something, haven't they, at Sauber?
Yeah.
And the pace
Demen entrevistas, demen entrevistas, demen entrevistas.
Okay, they needed to use a bit of
Necesito las entrevistas con los pilotos
but when he arrived there,
para sacar el clip para
yeah,
TikTok.
the pace merited exactly where they finished.
Well, should we find out how the boss is feeling? Let's go to Sauber team principal Jonathan Wheatley with 4 points in the bag this weekend.
Okay.
Jonathan, huge congratulations on that result. Double points
ver.
finish. I mean, how great does that
El
feel? We spoke
resultado
here yesterday. We were happy. You must be ecstatic now.
de stage.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating with being lapped towards the end there. You know, we thought we were on for an even better finishing position, and isn't that a wonderful thing to be talking about, that we felt that we could have been better. Look, clearly we've put some performance on the car. The drivers feel incredibly confident with it. It was a solid team performance today, and yeah, I mean, it's just, you can see the
Es una
energy in the
victoria
team.
grandísima para
Yeah, I've
ellos.
seen lots of members of the team high-fiving each other and big smiles on everyone's face. You said that you've taken things a step forward with the car, but what particularly has led to this gain in performance?
I think it's just the tools all agreeing with each other, you know, and you get this every now and then in Formula One. You get it where the upgrades that you put on the car, everything that you're doing in the factory, all of the tools, all of the correlations, right, and it delivers. And look, we're here now. It's a bit of a shame it's the last year of this set of technical regulations, and there isn't a few more years of it.
Always the way. Well done. We'll let you to go and celebrate with the team.
Thank you
Jonathan.
very much.
Let's go.
Yeah, some well-deserved celebrations indeed.
Let's
Congratulations
go.
to Sauber. Let's have a chat about some of the rookies. Obviously, we have to kick off with Kimi Antonelli. I mean, he held up his hand
Hombre,
instantly. He
voy a
came over the radio
darle
and just said,
palo
"Sorry,
al pobre
guys,
Kimi."
I locked the rears. It was a racing incident, but he's taken out Max Verstappen, which I guess is what happens when you qualify in P7. You're suddenly in the melee pack, you're in the mid pack, and you can get caught up in these kind of moments, particularly at the start of the race.
Yeah, but I can understand everything,
Vaya
but the
toque.
mistake at the end was big, and I'm sorry for it, because he just gets surprised in the braking
Vaya
point
toque.
of the car in front of them.
Vaya
Seems that they
toquecito, vaya
they
nalgada.
surprise him, and then he forced a brake. He avoided by luck the 2 cars in front of him and then crashed into Verstappen. Seems that his braking point was just 20 meters.
Vaya nalgada que le ha pegado.
And, he missed a bit of probably, I don't know, lack of experience. He got surprised, but that mistake was big because was the only one to have that mistake at the start, while all the others were caution, and ended up
Y es
in
a
saving
quién le haces
the race of the 2 cars in front of him could be even
la
worse,
acción.
but then
Es
hitting
que eso,
Verstappen that
eso
was
tiene
4 cars
mucho
behind
que
in front.
ver.
So, at the end, it's
Ahí,
big,
ahí
and
no
I'm
se lo
sorry for it.
cuenta
You know, some
quién lo
mistakes you
hizo,
can put
no,
down
a
to being a
quién se
rookie
lo
in
hizo.
Formula One, but unfortunately that's not one of them, you know. He's been here in other series. he knows the nature of the corner, he knows the nature of a single-seater start, and he's right to hold
El niño diciendo,
to that
yo
one. I
quiero
think he
pelear
also
por
goes
mi
over
puesto,
and has
carajo.
a word with Max Verstappen, who I think is very sporting, actually, to appear to understand the incident. But yeah, Antonelli's just going to have to brush that one off and learn from it. The point you do make, though, Nicky, is it is huge for the championship. You know, we talked about those gaps at the front of the field and a DNF being unopposed points then delivered to everyone else. Is that a nail in the coffin of Verstappen's championship hopes, especially with a dominant McLaren taking off 30 seconds into the lead?
Well, it looked like after that moment, there was... Max Verstappen didn't seem as maybe angry as you would have maybe expected. There was a little bit of a chat between them. Shall we find out what Max says in his post-race interview?
Epa, vamos. A ver.
Hey Max,
¿Qué dijo Max?
congratulations. Your race didn't last that long out there today. Just what did you make of watching the replays and just from when you were in the car, how that all unfolded?
Unlucky, I guess. Yeah, I mean,
Mala suerte.
It's what it is. I mean, I spoke quickly to Kimi also. He came even to the hospitality. I mean, yeah, you know, I think every driver has made a mistake like that. You know, no one does that on purpose as well. So for me, that's not a big deal.
Overall, the weekend just being generally difficult. I know we didn't.
No lo veo como gran problema, porque igual dice todos los pilotos llegamos a cometer algún error, entonces simplemente fue mala suerte ya. Y pues todo empezó con la mala suerte de la clasificación, la bandera amarilla, etc. Entonces, pues.
And huge consequences, of course, because that gap to just Norris ahead extends from 21 to 46. But from one Red Bull driver to
Liam
another.
Lawson.
Congratulations, an excellent points finish today. How do you reflect on today's race?
Thank you.
Sexto.
Very happy, very proud of the team. It's been a very tough year, honestly, and although sometimes you know, you feel good in the car, you feel confident and comfortable.
Que literalmente haya sido el único Red Bull que haya marcado puntos en este fin de semana en el Red Bull Ring. Bro.
Liam, it was a great qualifying from you, but it did put you in harm's way.
Cachetadas para todos.
Talk us through the avoidance up there.
Cachetadas para el compañero, para Hadjar.
I thought I was done, honestly.
Cachetadas para
I saw the replay
para
now,
su noda.
I guess he was avoiding. No, obviously wasn't on purpose, but yeah, at the time I was like, okay, this is going to be game over. And then sometimes it aligns for you, and somehow we got out of it. And the team.
Vamos a ver qué se dice, qué dice Franco. Yo quiero escuchar a Franco respecto al accidente, o bueno, al intento de choque contra Piastri. O sea, esa sacada me pareció fea por parte del argentino. Vamos a ver.
It's just always Fernando, who's within. He was within DRS for 71 laps, I think, today, and it's just you know, you just can't make any mistake, and he knows what he's doing as well. He's very good with his tires, and for us, we had good speed before the DRS zones, which is where we needed it. I think that's what saved us. I spoke to him afterwards. He actually felt like I was quicker, so I was sure he was quicker than us. But I think he was using that DRS. So yeah.
And tell me about. You said that is some races that you're.
Las peleas con Fernando.
But how you could extract that performance in quali? Why we realized from outside that only this time you had the speed that you felt in the last few races?
I think sometimes it feels, I think, you know, practice at the last few races, Canada, Barcelona, Monaco have all been strong in practice, and we go to quali and the tires are so sensitive this year.
Pero anímicamente, o sea, anímicamente, Lawson anímicamente levantó al volver a Racing Bulls. ¿Qué era lo que le estaba pasando a favor a su noda antes de pasar a Red Bull?
lot of variables in Formula One, a lot of things that need to align, and today they did.
Y que estaba mucho más reñida la cosa entre Tsunoda
Enjoy
y
this
Hadjar.
moment. P6, best finish this season. We'll send you back on your way. I'm sure they got the champagne waiting for you. Thank you to Liam Lawson there. Now, we
Let's
did kick
go.
off on the grid. We were talking to Christian Horner about his expectations ahead of this race. I don't think he would have predicted what happened. He's now speaking to Ariana.
A ver. Christian Horner.
Christian, can we have an assessment on the day and also on the incidents with both drivers?
Yeah, look, a frustrating day. Starting with Max, he had a great start, you know, was well positioned. Turn 1, turn 3, unfortunately Kimi just lost control and wiped him out. So, yeah, very frustrating. You know, obviously Kimi's apologized. You know, it is what it is. But, you know, I think when you look at the pace, we wouldn't have fought the McLarens today, but we would have fought the Ferraris hard for sure. You know, George had no pace. So yeah, it was frustrating, and with Yuki, obviously difficult to make progress from starting where he did on the grid and then picking up a penalty as well. You know, with Colapinto. So yeah, a horrible race for him today as well. So yeah,
Mala carrera para Tsunoda con el tema de Colapinto y ya pues mala suerte para Verstappen con el contacto de que se disculpó Kimi, etc.
Where Verstappen would have lost out. Can you just talk to us about how you remedy this second seat struggles and how you make sure that second driver is up there so that you are able to capitalize on something when Max Verstappen, who's right behind us now, has an unfortunate day like today out of his control?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, we need to understand with Yuki what's gone wrong, because you know, P1, P2, well, certainly P2 and P3, he was looking okay. Qualifying, it seemed to fall apart from him. And then when you're out of position, you're down the pack like that, you know, when it's so tight, you know, he's struggling. I think he's struggling for confidence, but we'll work with him. We'll try and help him, you know, through it. And you know, the car
si Red Bull se va a medir
you know, it's a car
a subir
over the years, around,
o sea, si va a ser tan descarado decir nos tiramos en un inicio a Liam porque pensamos que era lo suficiente y no dio la talla. Lo intentamos ahora con Tsunoda y en la misma joda, no da la talla. Vamos a subir a Hadjar a ver si da la talla. O buscamos más bien afuera.
Yeah, we're just focused on each race now, and you know, they're a long way out of touch. But yeah, you know, we'll just take things race by race.
Thank you for talking with us,
Thank you very
Christian.
much. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, it will have to be a time, won't it? Red Bull will have to regather
Carrera
quickly.
tras carrera.
And
Veremos.
at some point, are we going to start to see some performance
¿Cómo
from
van las
Tsunoda?
cosas?
I mean, another penalty for collisions.
Yeah, today was a disaster, to be honest. Not very lucky, but then it was never perfect in the fight and in the battle between the others. And so he had a contact, penalty, he had another contact, he risked another penalty. I mean, was not his day. I think that some other drivers race much better than him. Alonso always in the point, Bortoleto. I mean, many drivers better than him. Sorry.
Should we now talk about your favourite?
Who is?
Ferrari!
Ah, he's on the podium, man. I told you.
Ferrari.
That Leclerc is on the podium. But let's talk about Hamilton for a moment, because he equals his best finish this season. So you would have thought he would be happy with that result. But quite disgruntled on the radio, particularly when it was coming to that second pit stop, saying, you know, guys, why are you pitting me here? Tyres are okay. I'm good. I've got the pace. Do I have to come in? He did actually come in, but what was going on there? Was he kind of disagreeing with the strategy? Did he want to stay out?
He wanted something different from the strategy. We need to understand also the perspective of the driver. At that time, he was fourth, behind Leclerc, maybe slightly slower than him, maybe 1/10 per lap. Leclerc was pulling away slowly. He wanted something different. But if you change the perspective and you go on the team perspective, they are third and fourth. Leclerc was a bit better in quali, was slightly better in the race. He had a good start. Come on, you know, there's no way to try something different. Anyway, was a good race from Hamilton, but being beaten by the teammate once again, probably for him was too much and he wanted something different.
Nada, pero eso de que te venza el compañero ya...
He's being beaten by his teammates. Anyway, let's go down to Ariana now, who is with Andrea Stella from McLaren.
Andrea, huge congratulations.
Vamos a hablar con Andrea.
That's the result you want for the team. I mean,
your
drivers delivered some absolutely incredible racing for us fans, but how was it for you and the team watching?
Well, we are very proud of our two drivers.
Estamos muy contentos y muy orgullosos. Son veloces, los dejamos correr.
Ambitions and aspirations, as long as we do that within our principles and approach, which is not only the team principles.
Desde que estén dentro de los principios, los dejamos correr, que muestren su emoción, su tal.
We gave him a bit of feedback that was a bit too far, and when Oscar crossed the line at the end of the race, he immediately came on the radio and said, sorry for that situation. Yeah, my responsibility, it's all good, and it is all good.
A fantastic result in both championships for yourself and the
que
wider
bueno,
team.
Piastri
What is it like at the moment within the team,
cruzó la línea, entonces, pero que inmediatamente se acabó la carrera, pidió disculpas y ya, eso es todo.
Because we have seen in Canada that both from a performance point of view, but also from a racing point of view, if you get distracted a little bit, we don't win races anymore, and we even managed to have a contact between our two cars, which in that situation it was just a misjudgment, like nobody wanted to show the muscles. It was just a very benign situation, which actually gave us the opportunity to review, gave us the opportunity to have good conversations, and I think that situation has actually led us to be stronger and even more united, which we've proven here, and I see that this will be the case for the remainder of the season.
Oh, it's great to hear and a great result. Well done once again. Thank you for
Van a haber algunas conversaciones, vamos a charlar, pero nos deja saber que somos bastante unidos y que la tenemos clara, o sea, como equipo, que está bien, que está mal. En una semana nos vemos. El viernes voy a intentar hacer, no prometo, no prometo realmente el viernes, porque el viernes les soy honesto, el viernes puedo llegar a hacer la misma reacción de hoy, sin audio, porque voy a estar en mi turno laboral, pero como haciendo como, ¡oh, no! Oh, lo que sea, y comentando ahí en el chat y tal. Y eso, con la segunda sí creo que podré reaccionar en el momento. La tercera práctica no, igual, sería también muda. La clasificación sería intermedia y la carrera sería igual que hoy. Así que nada, eso pues por lo que queda de carreras de Europa, ¿listo? Pero yo creo que sí me animo porque curiosamente, aunque estuve reaccionando, estuve poniéndome en cara en varios momentos, curiosamente ha habido mucho apoyo de varios, así que igual de Jesse, TG1, Juanse, Carmen, en serio, muchísimas gracias. Igual a los que se han pasado por el directo, me han llegado a pasar a simplemente a escuchar. Muchas gracias a los que ya han votado, inclusive en la encuesta. Muchas gracias, amigos. Muchas gracias por ello. Tenemos ya 5 votos, de los cuales el 60% va por la batalla de las papayas. Vale. Totalmente de acuerdo. De pronto de aquí en adelante vamos a hacer las encuestas en base a cuál es el momento más interesante de la carrera. ¿Vale? A ver. Bueno, vamos a ver si tendremos las entrevistas que estoy esperando, porque igual vamos a terminar de ver o sea, voy a terminar de ver realmente el final del post carrera y ya. Ahorita están en un Las Vegas Plaza que se montaron en Las Vegas,
Fun of
etc.
that. I mean,
Para los
amazing. You
fanáticos.
can now experience Formula One like never before. Click on that
Ujú.
QR code and you can find out more. I think
Sí,
it's
sí.
time for a bit of a conclusion. How do we reflect on this race weekend?
That probably the battle for the championship is over from Verstappen, and that is a bit sad, but he lost a big chance today. Not his fault, but the team was not performing so well anyway this weekend, Red Bull. And the battle is incredible on for the two McLaren drivers, because once again,
Bueno, la batalla está abierta. Veremos.
trouble in Canada for
Veremos.
Norris, what a turnaround for him today. So it's going to be with more and more pressure in the next few events. So
Las próximas carreras van a ser curiosas, inclusive la siguiente va a estar densa porque es en la casa
Who knows? We
de
will
Norris.
find out soon. Now, if you can't wait until Thursday for more racing action, make sure you go and check out the F1 movie if you haven't seen it already, or if you have, go and watch it twice. It is absolutely brilliant. We've absolutely loved watching it, and Lewis Hamilton billed it as the best racing
Tengo que traer
movie,
mis comentarios
period.
sobre la carrera,
Check it
sobre
out.
la
Thank you
película
so much for joining us
de la
over the
Fórmula
course
1.
of this whole weekend and joining us for our
Eso va a ser un
post-race
bonito
show
video,
and
eso va a
all
ser
the
una bonita
analysis. We've
bonita
loved bringing it
experiencia
to you. Make
para
sure you do
contar.
join us on Thursday. We will be heading to the British Grand Prix. Laura Winter will be back to talk
Nos
you through
vamos
all of the
para
action, and we cannot wait
Silverstone,
to find
carajo.
out, will Lando Norris triumph on home soil, or will Oscar Piastri get in his way?
Bueno, en casa. ¿Se acaba?
We meet again at
Volvemos al mitiquísimo circuito de Silverstone, donde veremos también a ver si Ferrari se pellizca un poquito para darle un buen fin de semana en casa a Hamilton, ¿no? Ojalá. Bueno, y que él también se pellizque, ¿no? O sea, es una de dos. O sea, es que él se pellizque y también que se pellizque el otro, ¿no? O sea, que se pellizque también el equipo. ¿Ya se acabó? ¿Ya se acabó? No, hombre. ¿Cómo vas a acabar la transmisión tan rápido? Todavía me quedan 2 horas más de energía. ¿Ya se acabó? ¿Ya se acabó en serio? Ah, hombre. Bueno, amigos. Bueno. Entonces, conclusiones. Nos ha encantado mucho la batalla entre las papayas. Sí, nos ha encantado. Fuimos muy fans. No creo que muchos hayan sido fans de mi reacción muda, ¿vale? Pero bueno, ahí se hace lo que se puede. Espero poder traer algo distinto, mejor para próximas ocasiones. Pero no prometo mucho. Porque pues con el actual horario europeo y mi horario laboral no machean una cosa con la otra. Oye, Duque, puede que LeBron se vaya de los Lakers. Puede, sí. Pero por ahí escuché los rumores de que también está más con la opción de aceptar la opción de contrato, que son como 50 millones por un año más, creo. Entonces, no firmaría una reestructuración de su contrato por 2 años, lo cual pues tampoco tendrá sentido. Pero te firma uno más y por el máximo creo que le dan, que son como 50 y algo. Y ya. Que igual tampoco es que los necesite, ¿no? No necesita los 50, pero bueno, en fin. Pero no, pues hasta lo último que escuché, no hay tanto... no es tanto la salida, pero igual, si llega a irse, pues yo creo que se va más por retirada. No creo que se vaya para otro equipo, no. Yo creo que es más retirada. Porque 40 años ya, casi 41, cuando arranque la siguiente temporada, no sé cuánto más quiera LeBron jugar. Si no es con las posibilidades en los Lakers. Yo en lo personal sí lo creo. Yo en lo personal sí creo que es más vendedera de humo. O sea, igual es la típica de que ganas botones porque, o sea, ganas clics simplemente a costa de vender que se va LeBron, va a llegar Giannis Antetokounmpo, o sea, hay rumores de rumores. O sea, está el rumor de que, no sé, se está buscando X o Y jugador, que puede ser cierto porque lo ha expresado Pelinka, de que están buscando cierto tipo de posición, lo que sea, pero sobre LeBron no se ha hablado nada. Entonces, pues hasta que LeBron realmente no tome una decisión sobre su nuevo contrato, aquí no ha pasado nada. Aquí no ha pasado nada. Lo dicho. Con esto realmente no es del tema. Esto realmente no es del tema. Pero literal, mira. O sea, esto no es del tema de Fórmula 1. Me disculpo con los que entren y vean algo o sea, que estén buscando algo de Fórmula 1 y vean esto. Pero mira, literal. LeBron James está optando por su opción de jugador, 52 millones para la temporada tal, dijo el director ejecutivo de Clutch Sports. Entonces, aquí realmente sabe que los Lakers están pensando en el futuro, pero valora una posibilidad realista de ganarlo todo. Exacto, o sea, aquí se plantea voy a intentarlo un año más, que me pagues lo que yo me merezco por ser un veterano de 40 y algo de años, de 40 años, me juego un año más con que Pelinka y mejore, con que ya Luka se puso la camiseta y ya está haciendo ejercicio y se pone en cintura físicamente, y los refuerzos que traiga Lakers, más lo que llegó ahorita del draft, más el personaje que llegó del draft, y ya veremos si funciona. Perfecto, excelente, y va por intentar llevarse el quinto anillo y salir con 5 anillos de la NBA. Bueno, 5 anillos o 6, segundo. Sí, exacto. Tiene 4, que vaya por el quinto y se retira. Y ya. Y listo. Pero va por eso. Entonces, y literal lo publicó Shams, que es el chismoso de la NBA. Lo publicó hace 30 minutos. Diciendo, LeBron lo que quiere es quedarse un año más y pedir 50 aviones y listo. That's it. Y realmente es la mejor opción. Es la mejor opción. Si él no se queda es porque se va a retirar. Él no se va a ir a Warriors. Porque a Warriors no le van a ofrecer dinero, y a otros lugares, pues bueno, también más difícil. Pero bueno, corto acá porque igual no es del tema. Voy a hacer un video, voy a hacer de pronto un directo en estos días, así charlando, así todo un poco, donde hablaremos de NBA y de actualizaciones de otras cositas. Eso antes del viernes, seguro hago directo, ¿vale? TG1 para igual estar al pendiente de los chismes que salgan en los próximos días. Pero bueno, por clics decimos lo que sea. Por clics decimos lo que sea. Así que nada, TG1, te me cuidas. Nos vemos en el próximo directo. Así como Carmen, así como Jessy, así como Juanse, nos vemos en el próximo directo. Se me cuidan, se les quiere. Los dejo con el himno de la Fórmula 1 y nos vemos en el próximo directo. Sea de lo que sea, porque en este punto me conecto en media hora para reaccionar al PSG al PSG Inter, ¿vale? mentira, es molestando, pero puede pasar. No hoy, pero puede pasar.